Good evening. At this time, we'd like to call to order the meeting of the City Council of the City of Palo Alto for Monday, January 9th, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Burt?
Here.
Councilmember Cormack? Here. Councilmember Du Bois?
Here.
Councilmember Philseth?
Here.
Vice Mayor Koo?
Here.
Councilmember Stone?
Here.
And Councilmember Tanaka?
Here.
For the record, all present.
Thank you. And just for everyone's understanding, I'll do a review of the agenda for tonight. The first item is the special order of the day, the election of the mayor. Following that, the new mayor will take order of the meeting and conduct the election of the vice mayor. And then we will go through adoption of resolutions of appreciation for Councilmember Cormack, Councilmember Philseth, Councilmember Du Bois, and then finally a appreciation for the outgoing mayor. And then the city manager will have a special update on recent storm events, and we'll have open public comment on items that are not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public will be able to speak on the different special orders, and the city clerk takes cards in advance for those members of the public who wish to speak. This meeting is being conducted as a hybrid meeting, so we also have people participating remotely. And I think that covers our overview of this evening. Oh, and following everything will be a reception in the lobby, most important thing. As I noted, the first order is, election of the mayor for the year of 2023.
Mr. Mayor? Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, excuse me. We do. So our first item actually is the swearing in of the incoming members of the council. And we will swear in all three of the members, and then the outgoing members will come off the dais, and the new council members will come to the dais, and then we will proceed on the mayor business. City Clerk Milton, would you like to proceed?
Yes, sir. It's my honor to please call up Mr. Ed Lowing.
Test.
All right. This is our first time doing this in a hybrid meeting environment, so we want to make sure the people at home also can be a part of us. So Mr. Lowing, if you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I will say aye, and then you will fill in your name. Okay. I do solemnly swear.
I, Ed Lowing, do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
And the Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
To the Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
To the Charter of the City of Palo Alto.
And to the Constitution of the State of California.
And to the Constitution.
Mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that you will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties that you are about to enter.
Discharge the duties that I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I would love the honor to call up Miss Julie Lifecott-Hames, please. Great. Thank you. Raise your right hand and we'll do the same procedure. I'll say aye and you fill in your name. I do solemnly swear
I'm sorry, I didn't expect to be emotional. I, Julie Lithcott Hames, do solemnly swear
that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Charter of the City of Palo Alto
and the Charter of the City of Palo Alto
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that you will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
to the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that you take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that you will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties that you are about to enter.
discharge the duties that I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I have the honor of calling up Councilmember Vicky Vinker. All right, you've seen this twice, so I think you know what's coming. All right. All right. So I do solemnly swear
I, Vicky Vinker, do solemnly swear
that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that you will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
the Charter of the City of Palo Alto,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that you take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that you will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties you are about to enter.
discharge the duties that I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So at this time, we would like to welcome the new council members to the dais, and our retiring council members will join us in the audience, and we will later call them up for their proclamations. So we will now proceed to our next order of business, which is the election of the mayor. First, I'll solicit from council members nominations for the position of mayor. Council members may nominate themselves or another council member. No second is required. And with 7 council members, 4 votes are required for election. After collecting the nominations, we'll invite members people to speak in the following orders. First, council members who made a nomination may speak to their nomination. Second, council members who are nominated may speak. Third, any other council member may comment. And then fourth, members of the public will be heard. Then we'll vote, and the clerk will distribute an electronic ballot that we will receive by email. When all council members have submitted the ballot, the clerk will read aloud the name of each council member and the person who they voted for. If a nominee receives a majority of votes, that person is elected mayor. If no one receives a majority, the process is repeated until a majority is selected. And then the new mayor will then conduct the balance of the meeting, including the election of the vice mayor. So let me make sure is this Councilmember Stone? Yes, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have the distinct honor of nominating my friend and our Vice Mayor, Lydia Koo, to become our city's next mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Tanaka?
He beat me to it.
Okay. So, Councilmember Stone, would you like to speak to your nomination?
Yes, please. Well, Councilmember Koo was first elected in 2016 and has been a fierce advocate for our community, its residents, and advancing issues from sustainability and affordable housing to honoring and preserving our city's cherished history. This year, as in recent years, we will surely see many challenges and opportunities for Palo Alto. We must continue to navigate the arduous housing element process, continue and implement parts of our SCAP goals, and navigate an uncertain economy. Vice Mayor Koo's breadth of experience, the passion for this work, and her empathy for those we serve will suit her well as mayor, and our city will be a better place for it. I had the privilege of nominating Lydia for the position of vice mayor earlier last year, and I spoke to her ability to get the job done by working with her colleagues, staff, community leaders, our residents, to find solutions to our city's most vexing problems. Her time as vice mayor has only solidified my belief that she is not only prepared to step into the role as mayor, but she will excel the moment she takes the gavel tonight. Lydia's service to this community doesn't even end here at the dais. She is an active volunteer serving as an emergency services volunteer. Just last week, during the major storms that soaked and flooded parts of our town, Lydia was out there with residents helping fill sandbags. She was visiting flooded streets. She was monitoring creeks. She even personally knocked on the doors of residents whose houses had flooded just to check in on them and offer a sympathetic ear. I think that is what we truly deserve in a leader. She volunteers by serving food to seniors at La Comida. And I think most importantly, she doesn't do any of this to further any political image of hers. She does it because she's simply just a good person. And anyone who has had the pleasure of getting to know Lydia will immediately think of her incredible heart and her empathy. And on more occasions than I can count, Lydia has called me up to just to be able to just check in on me. And I think that's what our community can expect with Mayor Lydia, an empathetic and kind leader, but also someone who is not afraid to stand up for what they believe in and tell it like it is. And that is a really rare combination to find in a leader, someone who is both unfailingly kind, but also as strong and determined as anything. Now, I can go on and on about why this council should unanimously support Vice Mayor Koo for mayor. I don't want to though take what is supposed to or likely to be our shortest meeting and turn it into the longest. So I'm going to end here. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a Speaker of the House issue, but I don't want to jinx it. I think we're going to be okay. But the decision of who we elect to be our mayor is not merely ceremonial. It has true important consequences for the work that we hope to achieve this year on behalf of the people of Palo Alto, and there is no one better suited than Vice Mayor Koo. So please join me in electing Vice Mayor Lydia Koo as our next mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yeah, thank you. And I have to agree with Councilmember Stone in terms of the words he said. I've had the privilege now of knowing Lydia. We both got elected together same year. I actually had the privilege of sitting right next to her, so I actually see what she does and how prepared she is and how dedicated she is to the community, and it impresses me. You know, we as council members, we face a lot of challenges. We have to make a lot of tough decisions. And I see her really deliberate carefully on these decisions and really try to make sure that she looks out for the community. And that I really admire. You know, we definitely have different perspectives, but I found that we're able to work together. I found that she's considerate. And even if you disagree with her, you know, she is still a really nice person. And I think that's really important. I think as a body, it's important that we're able to work together and to move things forward for the community. So I am happy to call her a friend. And, you know, when we were facing a lot of Asian hate crimes, and I asked if she would help with organizing a Stop Asian Hate rally in Palo Alto, there was no hesitancy in her doing that. And I really appreciate that. That was amazing. And this is one of the reasons why, for the first time when I nominated Vice Mayor Koo, hopefully Mayor Koo, to be Vice Mayor. I did it even though there weren't others who supported it, because I saw the potential that she has in terms of making the council better. Because I think what's important as the presiding officer of this meeting is that everyone is heard, that the different perspectives are heard, that we run the meeting efficiently. And I saw her do this, right? I saw her, even though, you know, we obviously have different opinions on some things, she did that. And so I was willing to nominate her because I saw that. And I think that's critically important. And I hope other members of this council see that as well. And please support me in voting for Vice Mayor Koo for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Koo, would you like to speak?
Councilmember Stone, thank you very much for your nomination, as well as Councilmember Tanaka. Firstly, I just want to say, I want to start off with saying Happy New Year to my colleagues, to staff, and to the residents of Palo Alto. But before I go on and on and on, I must say thank you to all the men and women who work for the city of Palo Alto. A huge thank you for coming to work and placing high priority to keep residents safe, keeping lives and property safe. And so with that, God bless you. I am also so blessed and proud to live in this community that brought so many people out to help others in times of need. I understand you. I'm also so glad, I said that. I'm humbled by the nomination and I accept. Thank you. I believe after observing the different mayors in action as a council member and prior as a member of the public, I am ready. We've had challenges in the last couple of years, and we certainly still have many challenges ahead of us. We've been on a road to recovery over the last couple of years, and we will continue to work on community resiliency to address what we have learned from this series of atmospheric river storms and continue our discussion on key priorities that benefit residents, small businesses, and economic recovery. We will do it together, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, are you wishing to speak? Is there, just so council members know, there should be a switch. And council member Lithcott Hames.
Vice Mayor Koo has my support for mayor. Our city has a vice mayor for a reason. it is to prepare a person to step into the bigger task of being mayor. Looking over the last 27 years of our city's history, there have only been 7 times when a vice mayor did not ascend to the role of mayor. So Councilmember Vice Mayor Koo and I may not always agree on everything, but I have profound respect for her. I respect the role of vice mayor. I see it as critical preparation for the role of mayor. She has served in that role. Therefore, I am truly delighted to be supporting Vice Mayor Lydia Koo for mayor of Palo Alto.
Thank you. And Councilmember Vinker.
I too am delighted to support Vice Mayor Koo for mayor. Her 7 years on council, coupled with her service as vice mayor this year and her community service, equip her well for the position. In addition, I believe it worth noting that it has been 5 years since Palo Alto had a woman mayor when Liz Niss served in that role. That is too long. And it has been 11 years since we've had a person of color as mayor. I had to go back and look, and that is way too long. So for all of these reasons, it is my pleasure to support Vice Mayor Koo for mayor.
Councilmember Lowing.
I will just give a short summary of my experience with Vice Mayor. Complete passion for residents, a work ethic that won't quit, a huge heart, and a fighter. She's ready to lead. You have my full support.
Thank you. And I want to echo the comments that have gone before. I've known Lydia for more than a dozen years, and we first met when she was a leader in the emergency service volunteers, looking at helping the community to prepare for earthquakes. And ever since then, she has just had an incessant commitment to the community and the people who live and work here. I don't know of anyone with greater passion and compassion for our community. And having served with many council members, I don't know of anyone who is more committed to the job, who does her preparation more thoroughly and feels greater devotion to our community than Vice Mayor Koo. And I very much look forward to serving with her. She has been an able and very strong vice mayor, and I appreciate all the support she has given, and I enthusiastically support her nomination. So at this time, we are open to members of the public who wish to speak on this item. And so we have so far 5 people who have signed up to speak. Our first speaker is Andy Reid here in person. Welcome. And to be followed by County Supervisor Joe Simidian.
Thank you. My name is Andy Reid, and I live in Old Palo Alto. There are many perspectives from which to view Palo Alto. There's the Silicon Valley high-tech, high-value zip code perspective, and certainly the dynamic economic, political, and social perspectives are strategically and culturally important, and we can be proud of our heritage and acclaim. But another way to look at Palo Alto is from the perspective of a town of 70,000 residents who care a lot about what goes on and take pride in making this a friendly, inclusive, engaged community. Volunteers abound, and there's a place for everyone to jump in. Lydia Koo started out as a volunteer for the Emergency Response Preparedness Team. And I ran into her the other day filling sandbags against the surging creeks. As Lydia became politically active and ran for city council, you could sense the undercurrent of standing up for the little guy in her positions. As a participant in city government, Ms. Koo does not necessarily go along with the most popular position. She digs down into the fathomless depths of the staff reports and listens to all parties, and then acts in the best interests of the greater community. There are controversial issues in all cities, of course, and Palo Alto has its share. Sometimes, by the time an issue gets to City Council, it has been through so many convoluted iterations that any opposing positions may fall to the wayside in the process. Who has read all those letters and listened to speeches and harkens back to those forgotten voices? Lydia Koo. Here's what you can count on from Ms. Koo. The City of Palo Alto has rules and precedents, municipal codes, and a citizen-led comp plan, all of which should apply to all residents and businesses across the board. Lydia's unwavering stance has always been that all players should be at the same table, following the same rules and complying with the same codes. She's not showy, but Lydia stands her ground. If Vice Mayor Koo takes over as mayor, don't ask her for a favor. Talk to her about playing fair. She's a minder of good faith. We are very fortunate to have someone experienced in real life who's lived outside of the states and seen more than just what gets promoted as Palo Alto. Lydia Koo will represent all sides and interests with thoughtful, caring, and fair leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is County Supervisor Joe Simidian. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Mr.
former
Mayor.
Mayor.
Well, I was going to say, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, County Supervisor Joe Simidian, Palo Alto resident and alumni of this body. I want to see if I can triple dip with your permission, Mr. Mayor, first by saying congratulations to Vicki and Ed and Julie. I just have to say I was struck as you all took the oath by the way you just marched right through that part where it was without any mental reservation that you took the oath. So good for you if you can do that. I'm heartened by that. But sincerely, thank you for your candidacy. Thank you to those who ran and were not successful as well. In these times, stepping up for public service is, I think, worthy of special note. And congratulations, as I say, to you. I also want to use the allotted time to metaphorically at least look over my shoulder and say thank you to the outgoing members, to Tom DuBois, to Eric Filseth, and to Allison Cormack. I had a chance at a meeting a couple of months ago with you to express thanks briefly then, but all three of these are people who gave good service to this community and who I had the pleasure and privilege of working with during their time on council. And it really was a great pleasure to work with each and every one of them. So there are some ceremonial commendations. They will be full of whereases and therefore be it resolves, but they can never capture the thank yous that I hope we can convey more personally tonight. And finally, I want to congratulate Madam Mayor-to-be. I've been at this work for a while, as you know. I am a keen observer of the political environment and a good counter of votes. And what I'm going to say is that with only one nominee and 6 speakers in support, I think you're in pretty good shape. So let me be a little bit presumptuous and say congratulations, perhaps a moment or two early. It has been a pleasure to work with you over I'm smiling because I'm thinking of all the ways in which we have worked together and the range of issues, including getting me to read to children on Zoom, which was not on my list of things to do that particular week, but you got me to do it. And thank you for that, along with other very substantive pieces of work. So congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations again. And Madam Mayor-to-be, my offer is please know that my office and I are always available to work with you in partnership to help our common constituents. Be well. Yeah, I expect that call. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Russ Melton, to be followed by Angie Evans. Welcome.
So good evening, Palo Alto City Council. Following Joe Simidian is always a tough act, but it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation to speak at your reorganization meeting. I serve on Sunnyvale City Council, and tonight I'm also a proud Palo Alto hometown individual. I graduated from Gunn High School in 1984, and it's always great to be here in Palo Alto. I just wanted to say a few brief words. First and foremost, thank you to the 3 outgoing council members for all the hard work put in up on the dais, within the community, all the meetings and effort. It's really appreciated. I wanted to say congratulations to the 3 new council members, to Vicky, to Ed, and to Julie. I know you're ready to get to work on your strategic priorities, and I wish the city of Palo Alto and your city council all the best in that regards. Sunnyvale and Palo Alto do have some interests in common, tricky regional issues, housing, transportation, homeless. One that's very near and dear to my heart is Caltrain. Caltrain, grade separation, electrification, high-speed rail, and I just offer an invitation that the city of Sunnyvale is just 2 cities down the road, and we're always happy to chat at any time. So to wrap it up again, congratulations to the outgoing council members, congratulations to the new council, and wishing you all the best for a great year ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Angie Evans, to be followed by Aram James. Welcome.
Hi, you're much taller than me. So I'm Angie Evans. I think many of you know me as an annoying houser from Crescent Park. I'm also a mom, which you guys have heard me talk about. And I've lived in Palo Alto for about 9 years. And I kind of wanted to just talk about some of the things that we love about it here. We love our teachers. I have amazing neighbors that until last week, I didn't know, who came and sandbagged my house because we were out of town. My husband and I get to walk for date nights. We just get to walk around, which is like amazing. So I highlight these things because there are a lot of things that we love about Palo Alto. And the last several years, I think a lot of people in this room would agree that there has been a lack of collaboration. And so in the spirit of collaboration, I really want to say that I'm excited about this new year, this new council, and I really hope to see all of the great things that you all can do together through that spirit of collaboration. At Lydia, as you know, the mayor gets to agendize all of those items. As a renter, you know I care a lot about tenants' rights. We have a huge percentage of our city that is rent burdened. That is a travesty in a place with incredible resources. We are the third the place that the 3rd largest number of homeless come from in Santa Clara County. That means people are paying too much for their rent, they're not making enough money, and they're becoming homeless here. And so, again, in the spirit of collaboration, I hope you all will address these huge issues that we have in our community and do it collaboratively. That's all. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, final 2 speakers are speaking remotely. Our first is Aram James, to be followed by our final speaker, Erwin Morton. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Burt. Congratulations on your tenure as mayor. You've done an extraordinary job. Thank you to the outgoing council members. Special thanks to Tom Du Bois. Felt a special fondness for you, and we started back 8 years ago talking about safe parking programs. So I wish you all the best. Vice Mayor Koo, I wrote you a little note last night. I'll just read that. I hope you and your family are doing well. I'm pulling for you to be our next mayor, and I look forward to supporting you in that role in 2023. You have worked hard and tirelessly for the community members of Palo Alto for many years. I will advocate for you this coming year, even when we disagree or even strongly disagree on an issue, as we did over the role of America's greatest civil rights organization, the NAACP, during the issues surrounding the opening of Foothill Park to the public, meaning people from all over the Bay Area and all over this country. I promised you, and by the way, I want to thank you very, very much for the note that the personal note that you sent me this morning. It was very, very kind of you to do that, given your very busy schedule today. And so I want to thank you for that. Yes, I will continue to work on best police practices, People call me a police critic. I prefer to say that I'm working to make sure that we have the best police department in the country. And I will not tolerate racism in our police department. I will not tolerate canines that bite and maim human beings. And I will continue to be on that issue. I will continue to be on the issue of hiring Black management police officers. We shouldn't have a police department that has, since Sandra Brown retired many years ago, a Black officer in a command position in the police department. I'm not going to tolerate a police chief that thinks pretext searches and stops are okay. We will continue to work very hard on those issues, and I know that we'll all work together. It's a very tense time. I know I feel that. I have the sandbags outside of my house, and I had people help me when we were sandbagging, and I helped some other folks. So that spirit of community has never been more important than it is now. So again, Julie, Vicky, and Ed, welcome to the council. I know each of you will do an extraordinary job. And I want to thank everybody tonight that's come out to support our city council in these critical times. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Erwin Morton. Welcome.
Thank you. I had not planned to speak to this tonight, so forgive me if I'm a little less eloquent than the other speakers, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to say how delighted I am to support Lydia Koo, Council Member Lydia Koo, for mayor of the city. I don't have a lot of contact with city council in general, but when I have had contact in recent years, she has been there and been right there for the issues I brought forward. The larger one was the issue of teen vaping. And she and several other council members, but especially Council Member Koo, were right there to support our kids on an issue that really matters for their current and future health. And the other is that I happened on a totally different topic to speak with her yesterday, and she was fully on top of knowing about the sandbagging in my neighborhood, because we live in a place where the river flows uphill sometimes, particularly on New Year's Eve. But in any case, I want to thank all of the outgoing council members and welcome all the incoming, and especially to thank and support Councilmember Koo in her nomination for mayor, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public speakers on this item. So we will now return to the council to vote on the nomination. And I take it we have a ballot being sent to us.
Mr. Mayor, since there was only one nomination, we're not going to do a digital vote.
Very good.
I think we'll just do a roll call vote. It seems pretty easy.
Sounds great.
All right, so we'll start in alphabetical order. Mayor Burt.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Koo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lowy.
Yes.
Councilmember Lifecott Hames.
Yes.
Councilmember Stone.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
And Councilmember Vinker.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mayor Koo.
Well, thank you so much to everybody that's here. So without further ado, I think we're gonna keep this moving. And so, but first I would like to acknowledge, we do have some dignitaries here tonight, and I would like to acknowledge them. I think most of you already heard from County Supervisor Joe Simidian. And we also have, we do have from Los Altos, Councilmember Lynette Lee Eng. We have from City of Cupertino, Kitty Moore. We also have former mayor from Cupertino, Stephen Scharf. We have former mayor from Palo Alto, Larry Klein. Former mayor, Palo Alto, Karen Holman. Former mayor, Palo Alto, Liz Niz. Former mayor, East Palo Alto, Larry Moody. And we have a mayor from Sunnyvale, Russ Melton. Thank you for being here. Oh, council member, Russ Melton. And we have also from Mountain View, council member Margaret Abekoga. We also have former mayor from Palo Alto, Yoriko Kishimoto. We see you through that mask. We also have from Stanford, Megan Sweezy Fogarty. And we also have Council Member Liang Chow from the City of Cupertino. Thank you for your help, Mayor. Excuse me, I was just told that also Mayor Lucas Ramirez from Mountain View is here as well. Okay, welcome and thank you for being here. Now we're going to move towards the election of the vice mayor. The floor is now open for nominations for vice mayor. Council members may nominate themselves or another council member, and no second is required. Floor is open. I'd like to, the first light I see is from Councilmember Vinker.
Thank you, Mayor Koo. It is my pleasure to nominate my fellow council member Greer Stone for vice mayor.
Now I see a light from Councilmember Lowing.
That would be a repetitive nomination for Councilmember Greer, so I'll hold my comments.
Now I see a light from Councilmember Lifcut Haynes.
I would like to nominate Councilmember Tanaka for vice mayor.
I don't see any more lights. And with that, we can move to the council member for comments from the council member who moved the nomination. If they'd like to speak to a nomination, and we can start with Councilmember Vinker.
Thank you, Mayor Koo. In Palo Alto, we are blessed with tremendously talented people who offer themselves up to public service. Councilmember Tanaka brings substantial skills to the dais. In the last few weeks, I've had the pleasure of getting to know him and learn all that we have in common. and he has graciously shared advice about council procedures and practices, and I very much look forward to working with him. I've also had very good conversations with Council Member Stone about the culture of our council. I ran on a platform of bridge building and getting to yes. I am impressed by Council Member Stone's commitment to moving past faction. I trust that he will lead in a way that unites us and allows for respectful disagreement and realignment of council members as the issues shift, such that agreement or disagreement on one issue will not breed reflexive agreement or disagreement on others. Also, I've witnessed the professional respect and trust between Mayor Koo and Council Member Stone. It is critical that the mayor and vice mayor relationship is strong and that the mayor can have confidence in the vice mayor. I'll be listening closely to what the mayor says in case I've got it wrong, but I believe that this is a factor that weighs in Council Member Stone's favor. In addition, Council Member Stone is an experienced city leader, having served as chair of Council's Policy and Services Committee, chair of the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission, to which he was first appointed in 2013 at the ripe old age of 23, and as vice chair of the Santa Clara County Human Rights Commission, to which he was appointed by Supervisor Simidian. He also serves as a teacher in our public schools, which, coming from a family of teachers, I view as blessed work. Council Member Stone's public service has also included promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in his roles on both the Palo Alto HRC and the County Human Rights Commission. And Council Member Stone brings a different kind of diversity to our leadership. Not only are he and his wife teachers, but they are also the only apartment dwellers on council in a city where approximately 43% of us are renters. Also, they're a young couple looking to start a family here, which is another very different perspective that enriches our work. Generally, Council Member Stone has been a moderate voice, articulating independent positions, but adjusting his stance in the best interest of our city. He pushed for a higher business tax, but in the end voted for the negotiated compromise. He's been a leading voice on affordable housing and also understands the need to increase funding for it. So he worked with our state legislators to procure more funding in future state budgets. But importantly, he's not afraid to be the sole dissenting voice when necessary. Council Member Stone was the only dissenter on police radio encryption. After losing that vote and convinced that encryption was a violation of transparency and counter to our city's policy goals, he continued the fight, working with Senator Becker's office to personally seek and receive clarification from the State Department of Justice that Palo Alto could decrypt and not be in violation of DOJ policy. His initiative and commitment to the integrity of our policing and criminal justice practices is admirable. So, his commitment to reducing faction, compatibility with Mayor Koo, bringing a younger viewpoint and that of a renter into leadership, having the strength to vote his conscience, but also being judicious about when to join with colleagues, are some of the reasons that I will be casting my vote for Council Member Stone for Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowing.
Thank you. Yeah, as Councilmember Baker pointed out, when Greer Stone came to council, he was already experienced in both city government and county government, and served on the Human Relations Commission here, including chair, and then was plucked away by this gentleman called Supervisor Simidian to take over the same role in the county where Greer did a heck of a job and was also a vice chair there. So he steps into the council as an experienced government employee. But in my view, and echoing some of the things that Councilmember Baker has said, I think Greer's done a superior job on a number of qualities that are particularly important for leadership on the council. He's extremely well prepared and a very active participant on all the issues. It takes a proactive approach, digging into things with staff and colleagues in council meetings. He's insightful and even sometimes persistent in his questions, which I appreciate, and on the issues. but he's also efficient in his comments, which we will all appreciate as time goes on. I really appreciate the fact that he's focused on the issue at hand, the problem or opportunity that we need to make a decision on. His debate doesn't wander off into peripheral or unrelated issues that are important, but not on the docket for that night. And lastly, to underscore another thing that Councilmember Venker said, he is highly respectful in all of his interactions with every council member, with every staff member, and may I say also with every commissioner, in my experience. He truly wants to hear multiple points of view. And that approach and that reputation is invaluable for helping our mayor lead the council and getting things done, which we all say that we really want to do. I personally have experienced all of the above as well in my interactions with him when he would address questions to me as a council member, to a planning commissioner on things that had to get done. So I think Greer will be an extraordinarily strong leader assisting Mayor Koo in 2023.
Thank you. And before we go to the other council members, I'd like to ask if the nominee would like to speak towards your nomination. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Councilmember Lithgow-Hans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Doesn't that sound good? No offense, former Mayor Burt. Tonight, as I've said, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to nominate Councilmember Greg Tanaka. I very much respect and admire Councilmember Stone. He is an extraordinary human. I've enjoyed sitting in these meetings and listening to you opine on the various issues. And I love how more often than not, the way you manage to phrase something ends up in the newspaper. You have a very compelling way of stating your case, which I admire. However, tonight and this year, I believe the more compelling choice for Vice Mayor is Councilmember Greg Tanaka. And I want to present 6 reasons. The first is his extraordinary length of experience. Councilmember Tanaka tonight begins his 7th year on our city council. In his years on council, he has been on the finance committee and chaired the finance committee. Prior to serving on council, he served on the planning and transportation committee, including chairing that body. And prior to all of that, he was president of the very proud and passionate College Terrace Residents Association. Besides experience, the second reason I'm in favor of Councilmember Tanaka is he is the voter's choice. In 2016, he came in second behind Mayor Liz Niss. In 2020, he came in third behind Mayor Burt and now Mayor Koo. All of these numbers indicate to me that it is time for Greg Tanaka to be our vice mayor. My third reason is his deep passion for all of us as regular folk in Palo Alto. This is a person who listens to constituents. He holds office hours weekly for hours. He puts them on YouTube. He is making himself available and accessible, and it's not just one way. He listens. Number 4 is Councilmember Tanaka's manner of being. When I became interested in running for council myself, I sat where you're all sitting now. I sat meeting after meeting after meeting, paying attention to how the work of council gets done. And I was so struck in observing Councilmember Tanaka, struck that he does his homework, struck by his smart analysis, often brilliant analysis, struck by his charts and graphs. He dives into the issue to help us understand the issue in a different manner than may have been presented. He is efficient. He is dedicated. 5th, Councilmember Tanaka happens to be Asian American in a city that is becoming majority Asian American. And in my view, that further qualifies him to serve as vice mayor. And finally, reason number 6, it is time. Councilmember Tanaka is entering his final 2 years on our city council. This is our last chance to elect him as mayor if he is to become, as vice mayor, if he is to become mayor. So, colleagues, I encourage you to consider Councilmember Tanaka for our vice mayor. When I was in college and graduated, the speaker that year urged us to ask what he called the pertinent question. To me tonight, the pertinent question isn't why Councilmember Tanaka for vice mayor, but why not? It is time. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll have the nominee, Councilmember Stone, if you'd like to speak to your nomination.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much to Councilmember Vinker and Councilmember Lowing. Truly is humbling and a privilege to be nominated tonight, and I just always reflect on how fortunate and almost a miracle it is to be here. I owe so much of that to my parents who are sitting in the front row. My mom's been a teacher in the school district for almost 30 years or so. My father was in law enforcement for over 30 years as well. And many people are probably thinking, how did a teacher and somebody in law enforcement afford to live in Palo Alto? Well, exactly. We could not, and they sacrificed everything just to be able to make sure that I was able to go to school here and to be able to live here. And they always just instilled in me a sense and importance of public service and giving back. And that is why, as Councilmember Vinker said, I've been serving this community since I was 23 years old. I know that looks like it was a lot longer ago because of my receding hairline. So I've had about 10 years of service in this community, both here at the city level and at the county level. I've had the privilege of being able to chair various commissions and the policy and services, and really continue to push some of the issues that I fought for on the Human Relations Commission and the Human Rights Commission here at the city level. Being a renter with my beautiful wife in the front row as well, we understand the struggles that so many, about 47% of this community, experiences every single month. The uncertainty at times, if you're going to be able to afford the rent, and policy opportunities in order for us to be able to pursue. And during my 2 years on council, I've been able to work hard to build strong relationships and to be able to push forward some critical policy areas, such as areas on renter protections, affordable housing. And I also just want to thank those who continue to serve on this dais, former members who are leaving, and also former electeds who I've been so privileged to be able to have be personal mentors to me and help me through this process. And I feel well prepared to be able to step into the role as vice mayor. So again, very honored and humbled by this nomination. I gladly accept the nomination and hope to serve as everyone's vice mayor next year. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we turn to Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Councilmember Hames, for the nomination and amazing speech. Some of you guys know me in the community. I come from rather humble beginnings. My dad never finished high school. He went through the concentration camps during World War II. My grandfather died in the camps. His three generations went in the camps. His grandfather, his dad, and himself. And losing a dad when he was 6 years old is tough. And as a result of my dad's lack of education, we grew up incredibly poor. So I sit here today on my 7th year on council. I feel incredibly privileged to be here because I would never thought I would be here today. So I'm very honored to be nominated for the position of vice mayor. I have the experience, the skills, and the trust of the community for this role. As many of you know, I have a long 16-year history of service to this community, having served in many leadership roles, including 4 terms as the president of the College Terrace Residents Association, and several terms on the Planning Transportation Commission for 6 years, including as chair. I also served on the Infrastructure Blue Ribbon Commission before being elected to City Council. I'm now, as I said, on the 7th year. In addition to my public service, I also have many years in business as CEO of a venture-backed company. In this role, I developed the skills in running efficient meetings and ensuring that all perspectives are heard. I believe it's important to structure agendas in a way that allow for both council deliberations and public comment to be at reasonable times. We can all remember being here super late, like 12 o'clock or midnight, and it's not appropriate for important items. If needed as vice mayor, I would run the meeting to be impartial and fair so that this body can make the best decision possible for the community. It's worth noting that the dominant demographic in Palo Alto are working parents with school-age kids. And as the only member of the council to represent this demographic, I bring a unique perspective to the table. In addition, I'm deeply committed to representing the needs and concerns of all members of our community, which is why, since I got elected to council, I've been holding open office hours every week. My perspective and listening skills make me uniquely qualified to serve as vice mayor. In many smaller cities like ours, the leadership roles rotate based on the number of votes received and the seniority. This is because the main role of leadership is chairing the meeting versus in larger cities where the mayor, instead of the city manager, is the CEO of the city. Cities do this to ensure that the presiding officer of the meeting has the proper knowledge, experience, and trust of the public so that the council's and public's time are managed effectively. In both my initial election and re-election, I received far more votes than the other nominee, a testament to the trust and support that I have in the community. In summary, I bring more experience, better skills, and more community trust. I'm excited at the prospect of supporting a new mayor and serving the council as vice mayor. I look forward to working with all of you in making Palo Alto a better place to live, work, and raise a family. I'm deeply committed to this community and look forward to the opportunity, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to any other council members who would like to speak. And I see former Mayor Burt.
Councilmember Burt, yes. Well, thank you. And I would like to echo the comments of Council Members Vinker and Lowing. I've had the pleasure to work with Councilmember Stone for a number of years, going all the way back to when he first joined us on the Human Relations Commission and really brought a fresh perspective and a vitality and interest and compassion for our community. And that last element is really important. Greer brings to his office an understanding and a compassion for social justice, for economic equality, for the interests of nearly half of our community who are renters, who are represent careers that are vital to what makes a sound and diverse community. And he's committed to local government because he believes in the good it can do to serve our community and to make it a fairer and more just place to live. Greer is a clear thinker with high integrity. He has progressive values aligned with our community. He communicates clearly and well. He listens to the public and his colleagues, and he works to build consensus, which is really, in the end, this is how the council makes its decisions and moves things forward, is by being able to bridge differences, problem solve, and come forward with a consensus position. And he, as Councilmember Vinker had noted, we are looking forward to a council that will really be engaging in discourse on different issues in different ways. And Councilmember Stone is receptive to sound and balanced reasoning, and he's able to offer insights and reasoning that helps build that consensus that we need. He has the respect of his peers. Those of us who work side by side with each other week by week get to know the values, the competencies, and the different leadership abilities of our colleagues. That's why I support Greer. And as has been noted, he has been a champion of affordable housing and the diversity of our community. He's also been a strong supporter of our actions on climate protection because of the criticality of that issue for future generations. And he has been a champion of the youth of our community. As we move forward and we look at the issues of social justice, climate change, equity, and youth well-being, he has been a leader and will continue to be a leader there. And lastly, I know that he will be a great supporter of the mayor in her coming year, and that as I have valued her support, she will value his support, and they will work as a great team to provide the real critical roles of mayor and vice mayor, which are not always understood, but they go well beyond the running of meetings. The mayor and the vice mayor are co-set the agenda with the city manager each week. They determine which items are to come forward and when. The mayor appoints and selects the committee assignments, the critical committee assignments within the council, and how we're represented regionally. The mayor appoints ad hoc committees like we had in our Sustainability and Climate Action Plan and our North Ventura Coordinated Area Plan. And then they are really expected to be the voice of the community and the city council by many, not only those in the community, but in the press and more broadly regionally. They are who will be most often turned to represent us. And it's critical that we have faith and trust that they will do that in a fair and highly competent manner. So for all those reasons, I'm enthusiastic to support Councilmember Stone for Vice Mayor.
I'd like to say something also. Councilmember Greer Stone has maturity beyond his years. And at the beginning of this meeting, it reminded me that Councilmember Stone was elected in 2020, and we were doing everything virtually. So he even got sworn in virtually. And I don't think you've seen such a large crowd before. So I am glad that you get to experience this. Greer has become a valuable member of council as he thoroughly reviews staff reports, asks helpful, thoughtful questions and comments. Greer has an acute understanding of social justice and fiercely stands for fairness and justice. He fought hard and championed to end police radio encryption for transparency and accountability, for expanding the scope of the police auditor oversight, supporting a series of police reforms, and is cognizant of our community health necessitating social service workers to work together with our police officers on calls. Greer, with a law background, is technical and is able to delve into intricate matters, keeping in mind to not only listen, but to hear and to act on behalf of the residents and stakeholders. As a teacher, Greer provides valuable insight on the struggle and needs of the youth, And as a history teacher, he knows that having a strong understanding of what has happened in our history helps us to have an informed understanding of what is currently happening. Greer champions renter protection, genuine affordable housing, historical preservation, advocacy to protect women's rights, natural environment, quiet skies for residents, and much more. He has chaired committees as a commissioner here in Palo Alto and at the county, and now as a council member. Council Member Stone is ready for Vice Mayor leadership. At the same time, I do want to say thank you to Council Member Tanaka for all the service and for the years that he's given to the city and for supporting me for mayor. Thank you. And now we'll open it for any member of the public who would like to speak. Madam Clerk. Everybody has 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Jill Onan.
Good evening, council members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jill Onan, and from 2010 to 2019, I served 3 terms on the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission, which is known as the HRC.
Jill,
yes.
Will you pull down the microphone? Yes.
Sorry, I'm a short person. We need equity on that. 2 years into my tenure on the HRC, a young law student showed up to join us. His name was Greer Stone. I have to admit that myself and some of my colleagues were a bit skeptical about whether a young 20-something was going to be of any use to the commission, but we sensed some promise in him, and we went ahead and took a leap of faith and invested quite a bit of time in mentoring him, advising him, and showing him the ropes of how the city works. I'm proud to say that that investment has paid dividends beyond anything we could ever have imagined. Greer has grown and matured and evolved into a true leader for our city, for our county, and maybe someday, who knows? He asked me to come speak on his behalf tonight, and I was so proud to do so because I've watched him over the years rise to every occasion, to every opportunity that he's been given. He deserves very much to have the chance to serve as our vice mayor. As others have noted, he is a consensus builder. He is someone who is firm in his own convictions, but very open to compromise and collaboration with anyone who is seriously interested in crafting a pragmatic solution to the city's problems. And we have many of them. Further, his legal training has given him an acuity of mind and insight that will help us to negotiate difficult regulations with the state, problems with Stanford, and other legal issues that come before us. He's already shown an ability to do that in reversing the encryption of the radio issue that was plaguing the community from the police department. Finally, I'd like to say that Greer is in the vanguard as well of the next generation of young leadership. And it's time for us as more senior folks to be willing to hand the reins over to these new younger leaders. Greer is someone who needs to have this opportunity to step into leadership at the city level, to learn the ropes, to get ready to take us into the years that come. So he has my wholehearted support, and I know many of my HRC colleagues feel exactly the same way. Thank you.
Next, we have Winter Downbark, and after Winter, it will be Nicole Chu Wong.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here tonight. I'm enthusiastic about Councilmember Stone being vice mayor. Many of you have actually spoken to things I was going to speak to, so I'm going to try to eliminate much of what I was going to say. I want to point out just a few things left, and that is that he did serve on the County Justice Committee, which no one has mentioned. And I think this brings up something really important about him, which somebody started to mention, but I want to emphasize it. Councilman Stone is a really interesting combination of policy, wonkiness, governance, that kind of brain, and compassion. And he does both of those very well. Oftentimes, us human beings, where we tend to go one way, we tend to go another way, and he's got both of those going for him. And I think that's really significant, and I think it's really fantastic to have, we've had that on council from you, but I think elevating that into a vice mayor position and possibly, who knows, in the future into a mayor's position. I think that this is very much value added for a city council and for a city. And I think that this is very good. I also want to point out that I have watched you carefully. You grasp the nuance of issues. You also get the big picture. This is also very important. You don't just get stuck in details. Details are good, but you don't get stuck in details. You supported the safe parking program on Gang Road for the RV dwellers, and you have time and time supported RV dwellers at the church parking lots. And I very much have appreciated that, as many of us have that are concerned with issues of those issues. You've been a primary supporter of the city's new transitional housing development. Yay, 88 units. Transitional housing here in Palo Alto, and several affordable housing. Every time you were there for affordable housing, you do not talk the talk, you walk the walk. And you've been a consistent and strong voice for rental housing protections, upping rental housing protections. And you've also been there. I have worked very hard and significantly, I like to think, because I do see it manifested in sensible police reform and more accountability, and you have been there for that. Thank you very much. And I am confident that I can soon congratulate you as being a new vice mayor. So thank you. And I just want to say that. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up is Nicole Chu Wang, and followed by Jennifer DiBrienza.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Chu Wong, and I learn something new every time I hear Supervisor Simitian speak, but it didn't take a lesson from Joe to see where the votes were going tonight. So congratulations, Greer, in advance. I look forward to working with you in my role as an activist in this community and on the boards of multiple Palo Alto nonprofits. But nevertheless, I feel compelled to speak in support of my strong endorsement for Councilmember Greg Tanaka for Vice Mayor tonight. Although I do not always agree with every vote he casts on council, I believe that representation matters as well as experience, and I believe that Greg checks both of those boxes. Greg is a leader in the Asian American community. He organized the Palo Alto Stop Asian Hate rally and supported nearly 20 other rallies around the Bay Area. As the only member of the council representing working parents with school-aged children, Greg brings that perspective, a valuable perspective, to the table. And as a working parent myself with 2 students in this district, I deeply value that. If we want working families to feel welcome, they should see themselves in our leadership. Greg has a wealth of experience in public service, including roles as chair of the Planning and Transportation Commission and as president of the College Terrace Residents Association. And Greg's experience as chair of the Finance Committee and his understanding of the budget will be particularly relevant with all the issues council will be facing this year. Greg has demonstrated a desire to hear all perspectives and act as a bridge builder. He holds weekly open virtual office hours, which are more accessible to, for example, working families. And he reaches out to inform the community and solicit feedback through social media. This is not the norm for council, but perhaps it should be. And finally, it's important to listen to the community. And one way that the community voices their opinions is through their votes. And I'll be the first to say that sometimes you're not always thrilled with how the votes go. But in this case, Greg has received more votes than any other potential nominee in both his initial election and his reelection. This is his penultimate year on council, and he should have the opportunity to serve as vice mayor, given the votes he has received and the strong support from our community. I strongly urge you to vote for Greg for vice mayor, given the will of the community and his dedication to providing avenues for all members of our community to be informed and have their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jennifer DeBrienza, followed by Fred Berlin.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Congratulations, Madam Mayor. Congratulations to the new council members, and thank you so much to the outgoing council members for all of your work. I also can count the votes here, but felt compelled to stand up and thank Mr. Councilmember Stone for all of his work and all the work I know he's going to do in the future, but also speak to the fact that I have worked closely with Councilmember Tanaka over the 6 years that we have served in public office together. We ran together initially, and as has been mentioned, he was second highest vote getter right after the incumbent. And this is 6 years now he's been serving. He is an independent thinker, as I think anyone who has sat on this dais will attest to, and his knowledge of the budget I have always found very impressive. This is 6 years into his term, and this is the last chance to nominate him as vice mayor. I hope that you all give real thought into whether or not you're going to let this opportunity go by, that the second highest vote getter that the community really supported will never get a chance to be mayor here. I hope you'll get that thought before you cast your votes. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Fred Beglin, followed by Karen Holman.
Six years ago, last summer, I first met Greer Stone. He was running for city council, and I knew little about him. In our extended conversation, he was gracious, knowledgeable, articulate, and listened with sincere interest as I talked way too much. A PAUSD product and a practicing attorney before shifting to teaching, he'd also been serving for 3 years on the city's Human Relations Commission, educating the public and advising the council in the areas of housing and homelessness, the special needs of youth, seniors, and veterans, domestic violence, policing, implicit bias, and much more. He knew his town intimately. 3 months later, on that unforgettable November evening, with 4 Palo Alto City Council seats on the local ballot, of the 11 candidates, Greer Stone would finish 7th. A disappointment, but nothing, I am sure, compared to his shock, consternation, and concern for our future in the wake of the election for president. An easy excuse to disengage or succumb to cynicism, but Greer Stone did not. He is resilient, as is his faith in Palo Altans. He returned to the Human Relations Commission, was later appointed to a similar post at the county level, and then to its Human Rights Commission, where members could not only educate, but also advocate to the supervisors. In 2020, he ran for council once again and was elected, joining Lydia Koo and Ed Lowing as current council members who went back to their civic work after a disappointing election loss and made it on their second try. On council, Greer Stone's character, courtesy, collaboration, collegiality, preparation, and clarity had been evident for all council watchers to appreciate. But just as important is his willingness to question when needed and to not just go along when something is not right. Of notable example, in his 2020 campaign, he spoke in opposition to the unanimous city council vote limiting the scope of the independent police auditor. And as a member of the city council, as was stated, he was the only one to object to the encryption of police radio transmissions. He was right on both counts, and both policies have been overturned during his time on the council. Greer Stone, in the role of vice mayor, will be an outstanding support, and if needed, fill in for Mayor Lydia Koo, and an added benefit to the city in which he was raised, knows so well, has served so admirably, and on which we can rest assured that outside of his family and teaching responsibilities, he will remain completely focused. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Karen Holman, followed by Jennifer Landesman. Then it's a Jennifer L.
Good evening, and I'm going to use a broad brush here to save time for everybody. So first of all, congratulations, Lydia Koo, on becoming mayor. It's well-deserved and well-earned. And I'm not positive, but I think you are only the 15th woman mayor in Palo Alto's 129 years. So no pressure, but I'm sure you're up to it. I also want to express appreciation for those council members who are stepping down from the dais this evening, with a special shout out to Councilmember Du Bois because of his keen sense of humor. If you don't already know it, you will need a sense of humor. It's essential. It's an essential asset, especially as the evenings wear long. And I hope none of the outgoing council members disappear. And one comment about the green shades guy, Mr. Philseth. I hope he sticks around too. And also a note of appreciation for Mayor Burt, former Mayor Burt, Councilmember Burt, whichever you prefer at this point, for your year of dedication in a very high action year this last year. I appreciate the nomination of Greer Stone for vice mayor. I've known Greer for several years now, from when you very first applied for the HRC when you were but 23, and you impressed council members then. And you continue to obviously impress council members now and members of the public. I won't try to improve on comments that were made by your nominator, Councilmember Vinker. I just want to mention just a couple of high points here. You're a man of high integrity and a keen sense of fairness. Your dedication to service starting at such an early age is exemplary and not all that common. So thank you and much gratitude to you. Your intelligent analysis of issues, it's easy to see your legal mind at work. And your accomplishments. It's not just public service, it's accomplishments, whether it's colleagues, memos, whether it's leadership positions you take on things, whether it's, you've heard a number of times tonight, your position about police decryption. It really speaks highly of your maturity and intelligence and your willingness to step out there, even if you're by yourself. And the last thing I'll mention is your ability and willingness to compromise. It's really important to know when to compromise and when compromise doesn't jeopardize forward progress. It's not compromise for compromise's sake. It's compromise that actually accomplishes something and can move progress forward, move positive things forward for the community. So Greer brings, bring this kind of maturity and leadership to the dais and hopefully to the seat to the right of the mayor. And I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jennifer L., followed by Aram James.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Liu. I'm a Palo Alto resident for 23 years. I strongly support Greg Tanaka as the vice mayor for Palo Alto. I got to know Greg 5 years ago when I had some issues with the city. I tried to reach out to a few council members, and Greg was the first to respond to me. He had a long meeting with me to discuss the issues in depth, and he listened to me attentively. He's very passionate with his job as a council member, and he deeply cares about us residents. Greg puts high priority to issues that concerns most Palo Alto residents, like crime rate, housing, and budget issues, etc. After I met Greg, my husband told me that Greg was actually his co-worker many years ago, and they worked in the same team closely. Greg was very sharp, hardworking, and caring, and he always tried to help others. Greg has a wealth of experiences serving as public servants. He is a great leader as the chair of the Finance Committee. He's played a role in the Planning and Transportation Commission as president of the College Terrace Residents Association. Last but not the least, Greg is a very successful entrepreneur, and his great entrepreneur spirit is what we really need in Palo Alto. Greg is the best candidate for the mayor for the vice mayor of Palo Alto. Please elect him. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next up is Aaron James, followed by Paul Fong.
Good evening. So look, I've thought long and hard about this. I told you I'd read the tea leaves on this issue. I knew it was going in Greer's direction, but I supported Greg Tanaka and Julie Lithcott-Hames. Really extraordinary support for Greg. And like you said, why not? Most votes. Greer, you're going to get another opportunity to do this. And I think given your courage and your character, I had asked you in writing to, in fact, nominate Greg Tanaka for this position. You've got another opportunity, and Greg doesn't. Greg has spent 16 years in this community, and I'll tell you, he rode his bicycle over here in the dark last night to talk with me. He's an environmentalist. He grew up, he talked to me last night a whole lot about things in his family. He grew up in a hardscrabble environment where he had to run really fast to school so he wouldn't be beat up. He's already told you about his history, which you speak about, Greer. You know a lot about the incarceration of Japanese Americans. Well, now you know somebody on this council who really you're denying an opportunity, even though he was the voter's choice, to be the vice mayor. And I say, Greer, think about it. Look at your heart. You could swing this council the other way and let Greg Tanaka be the person. And then the next year, you can step in there. And we can promote as white guys, okay, letting a person of color step in front of us for a change. It's okay. Okay. Everybody here, Greer, I understand it's the stamp of Joe Simidian, right? Vicky's got that. Pat's got that. You've got that. So I really think it's deeper than just the things that we've heard tonight. So I'm going to say this, beyond any reasonable doubt, Greg Tanaka is authentic. He's accountable. He's accessible. He's accomplished. He spent 16 years serving this city. Okay. And I've been on his Sunday meetings. We've talked about tasers. He put it up there for the public to hear about. We talked about police canines. We talked about the rigged hiring of the police chief, that we didn't have an open process. And he talked openly about that. He's not intimidated by our city manager. He's not intimidated by anybody. He's a quiet man, but he's a fierce man. He is the person that should be sitting as our vice mayor. I ask all of you people on the council to think before you vote. Greg Tanaka is one extraordinary human being. He should be our vice mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Next up is Paul Fong, followed by Randy Pup.
Hello. Mayor Koo, congratulations. I think you're the second woman mayor and second Asian American mayor in the city of Palo Alto. So congratulations on that. And the Palo Alto City Council. My name is Paul Fong. I live in the city of Sunnyvale, just like former Sunnyvale homeboy Pat Burke. I'm a labor leader and Asian American community leader, both in Santa Clara County. Currently, I'm an elected trustee with the executive board of the South Bay Labor Council and past president of the executive board of the South Bay Labor Council. I'm also past assembly member to the 22nd and 28th Assembly Districts. That the 22nd Assembly District ended in Mountain View, and Palo Alto had many issues that I dealt with as a neighbor to the north. Real diversity and inclusion started during this era when I served in the Foothill De Anza Community College District in 1993 to 2008 as a trustee with the Foothill De Anza Community College District, where I served the city of Palo Alto as a trustee to the Foothill De Anza Community College District. More importantly, I'm a co-founder of APALI, Asian Pacific American Leader Institute, and many other social justice Asian American Pacific Islander organizations. Now, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. No one has presented this. Now, and we need to appoint Craig Tanaka because of his leadership that he has provided for the current trends of Asian hate and crimes against Asian Americans. The Asian American Pacific Islander community are looking for leadership to address this issue. And Craig Tanaka, along with Mayor Koo, has provided that leadership in the Palo Alto City Council, as well as further abroad to 20 other cities. He would expand his leadership of Asian hate issues with a larger platform as vice mayor of the city of Palo Alto. The other candidate, Mr. Stone, who I like his politics and policy, it's much closer to mine than Mr. Tanaka, and all the testimony may be true, Mr. Stone, but this candidate nominee for this position, Mr. Stone, is tainted. And all those who believe in this taintedness will frown upon his leadership as vice mayor of Palo Alto. That is the elephant in the room. If Palo Alto wishes to stay clean and sober to their constituents, the city council needs to absolutely appoint Craig Tanaka as vice mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fong. Next up is Randy Pop, followed by Kathy.
Hi, good evening. My name is Randy Pop. I'm a resident of Palo Alto, and I first want to thank the outgoing council members for their time and commitment. Although I don't necessarily agree with all the decisions you've made or the positions you've stood for, I greatly appreciate your willingness to lead and represent our community. Thank you also to the newly placed members. I look forward to the coming year with renewed hope based on your appointment. Tonight, I wish to enthusiastically support Greg Tanaka for vice mayor. Greg has a history of capably understanding nuanced issues and advocating for logical and thoughtful solutions and outcomes. He provides an exceptional example to others through his outreach and willingness to interact. I believe Greg will be an exceptional vice mayor based on my observation of his participation at City Council and prior to that at the Planning and Transportation Commission. I feel confident knowing Greg will bring the care and skill developed over his many years of public service to his role as vice mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think actually this concludes public comments. And with that, I'd like to ask Madam Clerk to send out the electronic ballots, please.
Okay, City Council, we are emailing a digital survey that you can complete on your device. And as soon as all the results are in, we will announce them for the public. Okay, the results are in. And for the two nominations for Councilmember Stone and Councilmember Tanaka, Councilmember Stone received votes from Mayor Koo, Councilmember Stone, Councilmember Burt, Councilmember Lowing, and Councilmember Vinker. And Councilmember Tanaka received votes from Councilmember Tanaka and Councilmember Lightcott-Hames. So the vice mayor for the 2023 year is Councilmember Stone. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Vice Mayor Stone. And now we move into the next order of business. We're going to move into resolutions honoring outgoing council members Cormack, Du Bois, and Filsef, and then former Mayor Burt for his services as mayor.
Madam Mayor, it's customary for each of the outgoing council members to request specific council members to read their resolutions. So just let me know when you are ready, and we do have the microphone set up for them to do it up front.
And we're ready. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay. So if we could ask Councilmember Cormack to come to the front and Councilmember Lightcott-Hames to read her resolution.
Yes. What a privilege it is to have the opportunity to commend someone I have known for 35 years, someone who is the highest vote getter in Palo Alto City Council history, Allison Cormack. You can applaud for that. Resolution expressing appreciation to Allison Cormack for outstanding public service as council member. Whereas Allison Cormack served as council member from January 2019 through December 2022, including chairing both the Finance and Policy and Services committees. And whereas Allison was always focused on improved communications with the community, including holding weekly open office hours, assisting the communications staff daily during the pandemic crisis, improving the clarity of council motions, co-creating the new handbook for board members and commissioners, suggesting a welcome letter to new residents, and drafting the enduring values for council. And whereas Allison was not afraid to make tough financial decisions, including freezing rates and assessments during the financial crisis, then rebuilding reserves and actively supported long-delayed projects like the bike bridge and the public safety building, as well as stable funding for the future. And whereas Allison represented the city on the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority, the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, including the Board Policy Committee and the Joint Recycled Water Committee, and served as a board member of the League of California Cities Women's Caucus for 2 years. And whereas Allison championed climate action in terms meaningful to every resident by asking for a detailed plan in 2020, suggesting an adoption life cycle model, including and encouraging students, recommending a workshop for residents to learn how to get the gas out of their homes, and serving on the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan ad hoc for over 2 years. And whereas Allison co-authored colleagues' memos on prohibiting flavored tobacco, requiring safe gun storage, and creating a skate park, and ensured a welcoming environment as Foothills Nature Preserve was opened to all. Personally helping park staff welcome visitors every weekend for 6 months in 2021, making our community safer and healthier. And whereas Allison demonstrated professionalism and courtesy at all times, modeling her belief that how we do the work of the community is as important as the work itself. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Council of the City of Palo Alto hereby commends Allison's outstanding public service and gratefully records both its appreciation and the appreciations of the citizens of this community for her meritorious service as a City of Palo Alto Council member, introduced and passed January 9th, 2023. And thank you, Allison, from all of us.
Oh, no, I'm used to speaking here. It's great to be back on this side of the dais. It's so nice to be able to stand up again. Gosh, that was a lot of years of sitting. Okay, so the truth is, this job is a little like baseball. There are hundreds of events every year. Meetings run late, and they have long, calm stretches with a few sudden bursts of action. And teams change over time. Oh, and there's definitely a lot of inside baseball. So my pregame warm-up was always a 10-minute meditation every Monday afternoon. And if the agenda looked particularly rough, I brought emergency chocolate for the break, as some people in the back know. My hope for this council is that you will be able to build some trust. Trust that can sustain you through whatever tough times are coming, although hopefully nothing like the many crises that we had in our term. When in doubt, and there will be times of doubt, remember that you are here to be leaders, not micromanagers. And my hope for each of you is that you will take a few minutes each week to prepare yourself for the texts that come with tragic news, for the angry emails, for the disrespectful comments that are just part of the job. But the corollary is that I also hope you will take some time to celebrate the good news, the grateful emails, and the thoughtful comments when they come. There aren't many, so treasure them. I really come before you tonight in the spirit of gratitude for the people who served before me. That's why I eventually ran. For the people who encouraged me to run, for the people who worked on my campaign, for the people who elected me, for the people who served with me, and for all of you who will serve us now. I should mention my family. I think I forgot them 4 years ago. And my family. And then most importantly, I'm really here in the spirit of gratitude for the people who do the work of our city all day and all night and all year. And that's our talented and dedicated staff. So my thanks go out to them.
Thank you, Councilmember Cormack. If there's any council members who would like to make comments, please switch on your light. I see the first one is Councilmember Tanaka.
Former Councilmember Carmack, I'm going to deeply miss you here on council. What I admire about you is you're so prepared. You've read every single thing in that packet. If I don't know what page number something's on, you know where it is. And I'm incredibly impressed with your memory and your dedication. You also came across as incredibly smart. I mean, you're just, I think how you're able to kind of go into the items, really understand them, amazed me. I was really impressed. And so unfortunately, the city here is going to be losing a great asset. Your brilliance will no longer be here on dais, unfortunately. And, but anyways, it's a privilege of serving with you. I'm going to definitely miss all the snacks. So thank you.
Next is Vice Mayor Stone. The names have not changed here. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Allison, I'm going to deeply miss you up here at the dais. You are a wonderful partner to have next to me. It's always kind of strange that when we get elected, and I know my new council members are experiencing this right now, oftentimes the little really critical things fall through the cracks, such as where do you go to the bathroom? And my very first night, Councilmember Cormack was so gracious to be able to show me all of these different things, the bathroom, how to work the switches, gave me a tour. And even though I didn't have a chance to get to know you well, but before that evening, I knew right away that you were going to be a wonderful person to be able to work with. I know we didn't always agree on policy, but we found ways to be able to work with each other. We always had a strong relationship. And yes, I will miss the sharing of candies back and forth. We always knew when the other person was getting a little tired and was there to be able to support each other. So congratulations on a wonderful 4 years. You will be missed, and enjoy your council retirement.
Thank you. And I'll say a few words. Councilmember Carmack, I do want to say thank you so much. I'm very grateful for your nomination of me in the past for mayor and vice mayor. I think that's something that as women, we kind of stick with each other. So I really appreciate that. I was always amazed by your thoughtfulness towards staff. I know that you would bake cookies. I'm not a baker, but you would do so much for staff and you would visit them with cookies, and you're very thoughtful that way. And as my council colleagues have said, that they would miss all the goodies that you bring for us. I also appreciate that you have a very soft soul. When I fell out of a shuttle, you tried very hard to prop me up and bring me back upright. And I really appreciate that you were standing here waiting. When I had my accident, you always asked how I am doing. And you even called me to make sure that I was all right. I do want to say thank you for your gentleness and for serving for the last 4 years. And all the best on your new adventures. Thank you. I also see another light from Councilmember Venker.
Former Councilmember Cormack, I didn't have the pleasure of serving on the dais with you, but I have been impressed by your advocacy on so many issues: housing, Coverly, and climate. And so much more. But I want to thank you also for being so prepared and persistent, and for speaking your mind, and for giving your all, even when it was hard. And I know sometimes it was hard. And thank you for supporting the interests of women, of all women, rich and poor, women of color, women of limited means, and for mentoring them and for mentoring me. I've appreciated the advice both during the campaign and as I take this seat. It means a great deal to me. And I hope, well, actually, I know that we will see more community service from your generous and community-minded soul. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Burt.
Thank you. So Councilmember Cormack, I also want to thank you for your service, not only on the council, but your service to the community through the wonderful library bond and the community benefits that we all derive from that. As others have stated, you were a real model on just the dedication to the office, the degree to which you immersed yourself in all of the issues and the hundreds and hundreds of pages of council packets every meeting, the way in which you took great pride in modeling decorum, and most of all for me, the commitment that you made to our joint work on our sustainability and climate action plan over the last 2 years, which I think is an enduring contribution that you've made to the city. So thank you.
And not seeing any more lights from council members, would like to open it to members of the public to speak. Madam Clerk. I see we have a first speaker, Alex Kobayashi, followed by Jennifer Landisman. Oh, Not
Thank you
Alex.
very much. I'm not Alex, but Alex has generously encouraged me to take his spot because of my relationship with former Councilmember Cormack. So thank you very much. I wear two hats here tonight. One is a Palo Alto resident, and you might know me from the Planning Commission. I also had a chance to be mentored by Allison Cormack, and it was quite an honor. But the other hat I'm wearing is to speak tonight on behalf of Senator Becker and Assemblymember Berman, who also have provided a resolution for you. The Palo Alto resolution that Councilmember Lithcott Ames read covered a lot of the details. So I'm not going to read this one, but I will say that it's really been wonderful these past 4 years to watch former Councilmember Cormack lead in a way that was not loud or forceful, but in a way that was working with each of you that had a chance to work with her, and did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So it's been really amazing to watch that. And I think, as you mentioned, Mayor Koo, it's really wonderful that she had a part in helping you become on this path to mayor. So that's wonderful too. So the last thing I'll say is just the closing part of our resolution. As a result of her tireless work and unwavering commitment, Allison Cormack has compiled an impressive record of personal and civic achievements, a record that has earned her the admiration and respect of those persons who have had the privilege of associating with her. So thank you all very much, and congratulations on a term well served.
Next to speak is Jennifer Landesman, followed by Aram James.
Good evening, Council. Congratulations, Mayor Koo, Vice Mayor Stone. You see, I've got this together. And thank you for your leadership, Mayor Burt, this year. And congratulations to the new council members. And a big thank you to Eric Vilseth and Tom Du Bois as you're leaving, and Allison Cormack. As an activist, my outreach to you is always a work in progress. But some communications with you have been especially inspiring. And I'm here because I want to give a special thanks to Councilmember Allison Cormack for making outreach so positive. There are details from how her office hours at Cafe Ida were seamless, to how during meetings she will pause and say, for the public listening in, I'm on this page. Or hearing from her directly that she read my emails. I don't write every meeting, but when I do, I take a lot of efforts. It's really nice to hear that somebody read it. It's an attitude that made for substantive exchanges in the 10, 20 minutes at her office hours. I felt like you were meeting me where I was, Ms. Cormack, no matter the question or level of complexity. I'm going to miss that and believe that your leadership on communications with and for the community will have a lasting effect. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next up is Aram James, followed by Mayor Lucas Ramirez.
Okay, former Councilmember Cormack, I wish you well. I wish sincerely that night that I first remember meeting you at the Human Relations Commission meeting had gone better, because it tainted my experience of you for 4 long years. But I still want to commend you for the extraordinary work that you did as a criminal defense lawyer, somebody that pays a lot of attention to detail. I was extraordinarily impressed by that part of your performance. Please don't judge folks, maybe in the future, so quickly. But I wish you very, very well in your future endeavors. Take care.
Thank you. And our last speaker, Mayor Lucas Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor Koo. Congratulations, and congratulations, Vice Mayor Stone and all of the members of the council who were elected and seated tonight. I wanted to speak in appreciation of former council member Cormack. You and I didn't have an opportunity to work very much together in a regional context, but we were elected at the same time. And you and I have the distinction of having served our cities in an unusually challenging time. It's probably difficult, but many of you have experienced this. The other members of the council who are terming out know as well. It's a challenging dynamic to work with a group of people in a virtual format. It's especially challenging when tensions are high because we're dealing with something that none of us have had an opportunity to experience in our lifetimes. I want to share my appreciation for your work in the city of Palo Alto. This is not an easy city to serve on the city council. I have an appreciation for that. A friend of mine served in the past, and I have a healthy respect for the work that you do, given the constituents you have who are not afraid to get involved and be vocal. So thank you very much for stepping up, for serving your community, for serving in a very difficult time, and for being a good friend. Take care.
Thank you. Now, we'll take a vote to adopt the resolution. Will somebody move?
So moved.
And now second. And Madam Clerk, if you take the vote.
And in random order, Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Stone,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowing,
Yes.
Mayor Ku.
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. That was Vice Mayor Stone. Okay, Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
and Councilmember Lifecott Haynes.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to the next resolution for Councilmember Du Bois. And Councilmember Du Bois has asked Vice Mayor Stone to read his resolution.
This way. Oh, you want me to come down there, Tom? I'll keep you company.
And just for the record, what the council members are also being provided
It's quite a haul.
is a thank you plaque that includes their years of service, as well as a commendation from Supervisor Simidian's office.
All right, this is a long one, so settle in. Tom Du Bois was elected to the Palo Alto City Council in 2014, re-elected in 2018, and became mayor in 2021. Tom accomplished much in his 8 years, focusing on community building, infrastructure, the social safety net, sustainability, and transparent local government, and community building. From the moment he decided to run for Palo Alto City Council, Tom had a community's quality of life in mind. He has helped strengthen the importance of neighborhood associations and town halls, improved neighborhood parking protections, and expanded Foothill Preserve and Bulwell Park. He was instrumental in creating the first domestic sibling-city relationship to bridge differences within the United States. He championed the use of the Roth Building for a Palo Alto History Museum. Tom worked to resume and expand community events, including the Mayfest, Asian American Pacific Islander Month, World Music Month, more than 20 events during Together Again Week, a sustainability workshop with the Danish consulate, and discussions on racial equity and infrastructure. Tom prioritized funding, council alignment, and staff focus to advance major projects, including completion of a parking garage serving the California Avenue district, a fire station, the Children's Museum and Zoo, a bike bridge connecting residents to the Baylands, and many other projects, including the long-delayed $100 million public safety building. He spent years working on purified recycled water, resulting in millions of dollars coming to Palo Alto for investment in our wastewater treatment plant. He helped establish a business tax and increased hotel tax to fund infrastructure. Tom was a tireless champion for fiber to the home to provide excellent internet service to all Palo Altans and social safety net. Tom is passionate about improving the social safety net. He worked extensively on 2 housing elements. He introduced legislation to increase the minimum wage, to provide protections for renters and safe parking for the unhoused. His collaborative efforts also led to increasing impact fees for funding affordable housing, increasing the city of East Palo Alto's access to water, and to evaluating the impacts of short-term rentals on housing stock. As a leader, he focused on deeply affordable housing, resulting in the saving of Buena Vista and multiple new housing projects. And sustainability. Tom advanced environmental and fiscal sustainability. He led a team that developed a financial model to fund an innovative heat pump water heater replacement program. He fought for office caps to balance jobs and housing. He passionately supported the city's tree canopy and increased protection of mature trees. Throughout his tenure, he advocated for pension reform, key to the city's fiscal sustainability, and transparent local government. Tom believes strongly in local representation, done transparently with integrity. Along with several colleagues, he proposed and gained unanimous council support for transparency in labor agreements. He helped increase the effectiveness of the city audit function through outsourcing, increasing the quality of number of audits completed. Tom was often a voice of reason, improving ordinances and helping the council move forward. He guided reform of the city's boards and commissions to make them more effective in providing a public forum and supporting council. He has fought for preserving local control and opposed state legislation detrimental to Palo Alto's environment and quality of life. And Tom's leadership as a public servant exemplified his integrity, passion, and commitment toward the betterment of this community. His involvement in regional and global issues offer contributions that will be of lasting value. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Council of the City of Palo Alto hereby commends Tom's outstanding public service and gratefully records both its appreciation and the appreciation of the citizens of this community for his meritorious service and commitment as City of Palo Alto Council member and mayor.
Thanks. I think I'll take Councilmember Ku's or Cormac's idea and stand over here. I promise you're not going to see me here often. So I just wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude. It's become a bit of a cliche, but it's truly been an honor and a privilege to work for the citizens of Palo Alto for the last 8 years. And I want to thank the voters of our fair city for entrusting me with the responsibility and representing your interests. It's been very fulfilling, and I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to my fellow council members. And despite our sometimes differing opinions, I valued the respectful and collaborative working relationship we've shared, often debating difficult problems where there's no clear or simple answer. I also want to thank Councilmember Filseth. We went on this journey together over the entire 8 years, and though we didn't always align, we aligned more often than not, so much so that people have called me Eric more than any other person not named Eric should ever be. I also want to thank our staff for all their hard work. For a city of 70,000 people, we work on some very interesting problems, and you do fantastic work. So thank you for taking on so many different kinds of challenges. And congratulations to the newly elected council members. I wish you the best during your term. There's a big transition from campaigning to being on council, and you now get to work together in order to get things done. And regardless of your positions on any particular issue, I hope you all take seriously the threat to cities' local agency powers under the California Constitution. The state government can't possibly know what's happening in every town and city. And that's why it's so important that we protect that power, regardless of the issue. So I'll look forward to I will look back on my time on council with pride and appreciation for the opportunity to serve. And I will continue to be a dedicated and active member of the community. So thank you, and I'll see you all around town.
Thank you, Councilmember Du Bois. If any of my council colleagues would like to make comments of appreciation, please turn on your light. I see first Councilmember Tanaka.
Just want to say thank you for your service. Really appreciate it.
Next, I see Councilmember Burt.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure working with Tom over the years, and that means that I'm referring to the first 2 years of his tenure and the final 2 years. And over that period of time, I really got to see Tom's growth and even greater understanding of the community and commitment that was there throughout his 8 years of service. In particular, I want to call out the leadership that he showed on renter protections, on our infrastructure investments, on affordable housing, on our water recycling, on our climate action plan, and really the broad commitment that he has to the residents of our community. And so I will miss his dry humor and look forward to building off of the contributions that he made. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Venker.
Thank you. I'm new. Now, former Councilmember Du Bois, I want to thank you for your vision, your knowledgeable, practical, and big picture approach to governing. But mainly, I want to talk for a minute about the journey we went on together when we realized we had a similar vision for how America's cities could help knit this country back together. And it was really a pleasure to work with you on conceiving and launching the Sibling Cities partnership that Palo Alto is first in the nation to participate in with Bloomington, Indiana. And, that has been just a wonderful education, wonderful thing to see happen. So thank you for helping tutor me through that. And also, of course, there was that side trip to Columbus, Indiana, where we met even some other Hoosiers that were interested in being partners. But I do hope that you'll have a well-deserved break and that hopefully we'll see you involved in that again. But thank you for your service.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, apologies, Vice Mayor Stone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tom, I'm really going to miss you up here. It was such a pleasure to be able to sit alongside you for these last 2 years. I mean, we knew each other before I came on here and respected each other, and you've been a good supporter, but you've been such a wonderful mentor to me during my time on council. And I remember one of my very early motions do not go very well, and it's being nice to myself. And you were so wonderful, taking me aside afterwards and kind of debriefed and shared your wisdom and your knowledge that you had gained over the years, explaining to me how I could improve, how I could become a more effective member. And I think that helped me in many ways. In addition to your wonderful sense of humor, I'm gonna miss laughing with you, and just overall, you've been such a wonderful council member to this community. I won't repeat this long list of what others have said, but I think you know what you've meant to this community, what you've meant to its residents. You're going to be deeply missed, but what you have done for all of us, it just can't be replaced. So hope you stick around, and I'm very just grateful for the friendship that we have developed.
I'd like to say a few words. Councilmember Du Bois, I remember when you ran for council in 2014, one of the things that struck me was you said you loved Palo Alto. Well, your actions show it. You have championed fairness, openness, and transparency and respect, and you were not shy to point out when it was not. You have a long vision focused on what is good for Palo Alto for the next 10, 20, 30 years, not just this year or the next. You said you were troubled the innovative startups competing with big companies and not being able to find space by supporting a petition initiative by residents to limit the development of office space. This also allowed us to earnestly focus on addressing our office housing imbalances. You said you were troubled that renters were being pushed out due to disappearing affordable housing options. You co-authored a colleague's memo with recommendations to explore areas that have not been addressed to produce affordability within the extremely low, very low, and low income limits. You also co-authored a colleague's memo to strengthen renter protection for Palo Alto residents. You said you were troubled about the growing number of people living in vehicles, and you co-authored a colleague's memo that said that the city of Palo Alto must address this matter from a health and safety standpoint. The effort must be made to find immediate short and long-term solutions with the ultimate goal to provide assistance to people to get them back on the path to stable housing. To get a grasp on the impacts of short-term rentals, you co-authored a colleague's memo before you leave council. So you continue to think for the future of Palo Alto. Back in 2014, during your campaign, you said you were interested in ensuring that you make best use of our water, and recycled water was something you wanted to explore. So you were able to negotiate with Valley Water and brought back $16 million to Palo Alto in order to do so. Also back in 2014, during your campaign, you said fiber to the home had been discussed in the city for over a decade and still no fiber to the home. And now we have an implementation plan to provide fiber to the home. Tom, Councilmember Du Bois, you're an ultimate thinker, strategist, action-oriented representative. I shall miss you on council, as will many members of the public community, of the public. And you're a hard act to follow. Thank you for your service. And with that, we'll open it for the public for their comments. All right, we'll start with Alex Kobayashi, to be followed by Winter Dallenbach. Welcome.
Good evening, council members. I'm here on behalf of Senator Josh Becker and Assemblymember Mark Berman to thank and congratulate former Councilmember Du Bois on his service these past 8 years. When I get to do these things, I try to think of the one thing that sticks out to me the most. And for you, it happens to be your service as mayor during incredibly trying times. You started off giving your state of the city online. It was a first for me and for the city, I know. And then you ended it with helping the city transition to reopening. And we get to be here together to recognize that work. And I don't think the city of Palo Alto would be able to do that as smoothly without your thoughtfulness and leadership during those hard times. So on behalf of Senator Becker and Assemblymember Berman, I wanted to say thank you from the state of California, and have a reso for you.
Next speaker is Winter Dallenbach, followed by Terry Holzmeyer.
Tom, everybody likes your sense of humor. That's what, I mean, nobody can get over your sense of humor. I hope somebody up here is going to bring that. So that's a niche someone needs to fill. There's a vacuum. A vacuum has been left. Tom's sense of humor. Somebody take care of that. You do have a great sense of humor. Your leadership made all the difference in November 2021. When council agreed to a package of 15 equity, police policy, and accountability reforms in one meeting. It was really fairly, it was a landmark occasion. It was the great leap forward in fulfilling the commitment the city made in June of that year, following through on a resolution that we would do everything we could in the light of the George Floyd and other things that had happened in this country to be better, to do better, to progress toward becoming better. We still have more to do. Tom, you had a lot to do with that. I think that night, I was very involved. I think that night without you, I think we wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have fulfilled that promise in that extraordinary range that we did that night. I think forever you can feel good about that. You were determined that staff's work that started in 2018 to update our tree ordinance would finally be completed while you were on council. And it was, and just in time to serve the city's 2030 sustainability and climate action goals, which it is a part of. We take the climate situation seriously in this town, and that is part of our green infrastructure. And you helped lead on that, and thank you, as did some other people on this council, not to say, but you were a big part of that. You were determined. And you were finally calm, cool, and collected, dodging slings and arrows at times, leading the council through the choppy waters of policymaking, like Washington crossing the Delaware. And you did it just with finesse and seemingly with unruffled feathers. And at times that is extremely helpful to a governing body. And really well done. Thank you so much. In spite of COVID, in spite of the budget cuts, thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry Holzmeyer. And next up is Aaron James after Terry.
It's Eric, isn't it? First of all, I'd like to offer my congratulations to the new council members and the new mayor and vice mayor. Your journey is just beginning, and I know there'll be challenges ahead, but I wish you the best because I know it is a difficult and challenging task. I really would like to talk about two people, Tom and Eric, if I could, for a couple minutes at the same time. No accomplishment was really greater during Mayor Du Bois's time than COVID. I believe that thanks to his guidance and his leadership, we were able to push forward through one of the most difficult times in our entire country. It wasn't easy to go through the constant changes of information, the difficult challenges of social media, and understanding what is truth and what is not. However, through city leadership, through Tom and Eric's leadership, we were able to get through a very, very extremely difficult time. I want to thank Tom personally for his great work on the restoration efforts on the Roth building. This is an important project for the future of Palo Alto because it will tell the history of our city. Far generations from now will benefit from that. And as a teacher, I can appreciate that. And so thank you, Tom and Eric. I also want to thank them greatly for working, especially Tom, working on the public safety building. I know that this was a difficult project to launch and get started. I think it took
if I'm not wrong, 17 years or something like that from beginning to end. And it's almost near the end, almost. I want to take a moment to thank Eric, if I could. His data-based approach to all the city businesses has really served our city well. As the chairperson of our finance committee, he always was watching out for our city finances, particularly our pension funds. I'm sure other people will mention this later, but Eric really led the charge on finding a way to make our pension funds feasible for the future. And I think that that's something we shouldn't forget. I also want to thank him when he was mayor for helping support limiting the non-residential development, cutting that, helping to cut it from 1.2 million to 850,000 square feet. I think this was important for our city's future. And finally, I'd just like to say both of these gentlemen are very humble. And I wish all of our leaders were as polite and as trustworthy. You may disagree, or kind or gentle than these two gentlemen. So I'm very proud to say thank you to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Aaron James, followed by Maura.
So, Tom, I always felt comfortable calling you Mayor Tom, and you never seemed to be bothered by that. And I'll have to say, I felt fortunate bumping into you at Bull Park. I met your mom. You met my mom when she was still here. Met my son. You were always just like down to earth. And yeah, you're quite analytical. And, you know, I enjoyed your time as mayor, even though a lot of the policy stuff we would disagree with. I'd like to have the state come in and force us to do a lot of low-income housing. I could never get, the only person that's ever been able to speak the word reparations was Greg Tanaka. I wish we could have had that conversation, but I do remember your graciousness 8 years ago, sitting down for more than an hour at the Palo Alto Cafe, where we talked about the Santa Barbara Safe Parking Program and my hopes that we could do that. And you did it. It took a lot more years than either one of us wished. I'm sorry we had spent all that money on the public safety building. I think it's not a public safety building at all. I think it's just a monument to the failure of the industrial criminal justice industry in this country. We didn't need that kind of a big expenditure on a huge, not so much public safety building. So we disagreed on that big time. And, you know, nobody on the council reined in, including you, much as I love you, Ed Chicana. You let him taint the selection process for a police chief by having a behind closed door, quote unquote, blue ribbon commission to select the next police chief. And it hasn't been a good start. I grant you, the new police chief has reversed the encryption issue, but I don't think he did that willingly. I think if you look at the policies that he's now promoting, they all support the racist police culture that's endemic in this country. I hope you come back and contribute your great wisdom. You did a lot of good things, but we didn't get police reform. The police are not moving forward. I just hope I bump into you in the community. We can sit down and chat. And I never once, not once, ever confused you with Eric. You're a very down-to-earth man. You're not an arrogant individual. You're the first person to say hi whenever we were out there in the streets. Good luck. Hope to see you in the community. Take care.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Maura.
Councilmember Tom Du Bois, thank you so much for all your years of service on the City Council. I particularly want to thank you for your hard work as our mayor. During the tough year of 2021, you brought your positive attitude and brought us together by organizing a number of community events in a way that was safe and welcoming for all of us during that tough year. You've also been a remarkable advocate for youth, and you have supported important programs for their mental health and wellness. Thank you for your mentorship and leadership on a personal note. I look forward to many wonderful years of service together. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we close public comments and we're going to bring it back to council for adopting the resolution. May I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilmember Lowing and second by Councilmember Burt. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Laycott Hames,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stone,
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Ku,
Yes.
Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowing.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we're going to move to the resolution for Councilmember Philseth. And Madam Clerk, I'm not sure who's reading Councilmember. Oh, Councilmember Cormack.
Former council member. Just want to make sure that's on. Ready? Resolution expressing appreciation to Eric Philseth for outstanding public service as council member. Whereas Eric Philseth was a persistent advocate for good government and served Palo Altans on the Council Finance Committee, including twice as chair, the Council Appointed Officers Committee, the Policy and Services Committee, the Utility Advisory Commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission, the City School Advisory Committee, the Rail Committee, and as mayor in 2019. And whereas Eric was a steady proponent of both short-term and long-term fiscal pragmatism, including both funding for programs that serve Palo Altans and simultaneously applying data-driven analysis and sensible cost management, including the use of public-private partnerships where appropriate. And whereas Eric was a consistent advocate for community services, including saving the animal shelter, the Bulware Park land acquisition, the expansion of aquatics hours and programming through a public-private partnership, and the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and adequate park impact fees. And whereas Eric initiated and helped lead a broad policy program to re-engineer the city's pension accounting and financing in order to halt the growth of the city's $500 million unfunded pension liability and establish a multi-decade path to pay it down. And whereas Eric championed and helped lead the effort to establish residential parking permit programs in order to protect Palo Alto residential neighborhoods from large-scale commuter parking intrusion, it's got to move down. And whereas Eric was a principal on the initiative to re-engineer and staff the city auditing function in order to increase its efficiency, effectiveness, and core technical expertise. And whereas Eric was a consistent advocate for affordable housing financing, including city funding for the Buena Vista Rescue, the Wilton Court Project, the 525 Charleston Project, the 231 Grant Teacher Housing Project, and the forthcoming Life Moves Project, and for rebuilding the city's affordable housing fund through commercial development impact fees that more realistically align with their affordable housing demand generation, and through the new voter-approved tax on large businesses. And whereas Eric supported and co-wrote the ballot argument for the transient occupancy tax increase, which made it possible to complete the Blue Ribbon Infrastructure Plan in the face of rapid construction cost increases, including the new seismically secure public safety building. And whereas Eric was a vocal advocate that the city's climate action initiative must explicitly transition from high-level objectives to a quantitative executable implementation plan. And whereas Eric contributed materially to the city manager and city clerk successions over the past 8 years. And whereas Eric has been an unstinting advocate that subject to constitutionality, the local voters of Palo Alto are the most appropriate owners and determiners of our community's values, preferences, and evolution. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Council of the City of Palo Alto hereby commends Eric's outstanding public service and gratefully records both its appreciation and the appreciation of the citizens of this community for his meritorious service and commitment as City of Palo Alto Council Member and Mayor.
Well, so as a private citizen, I get 3 minutes, right? So I want to thank a lot of people. I'll try to be quick because I have a lot to be thankful for this past 8 years, and I do want to touch briefly on finance. First, I want to thank all my council colleagues, both current and past. I'll miss working with you, especially on the nights we finish before midnight. I'll be grateful for the work we did together. Tom, it's been a pleasure sharing this adventure with you all these times, all these years, right? Allison, I will never forget how you broke the vice mayor logjam a couple of years ago. I want to thank all the people who supported me as a candidate and in my job as an elected official. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. I want to thank our city staff who work hard every day and so many nights on behalf of our community. No organization is perfect, but in Palo Alto, we've got one that's very, very good, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I want to thank my wife, Tina, and my 2 boys, Trevor and Sherrod, for their patience and support and tolerance, both when I earned it and when I didn't. And finally, I want to thank everybody in this room, both in person and on Zoom, which is where I assume all the people that were here are still, right? Right. Some of us are here this evening because it's our role. And some of us are here because we're family and friends. Still on? Okay. A great many of us who are here tonight are here simply because we're Palo Altans who have both passion for municipal policy and the time to spend on it. And that sets us apart from most of the 68,000 residents of Palo Alto. It's not that the rest don't care. I believe they care very much. They mostly just don't have time. Here in Silicon Valley, we do spend a lot of time at work, and what time we have left over has many demands. So for all of us who do have time for policy and contribute that time in service to our community, thank you especially. We're all the city council here tonight. Now, it's often said that the city council's job is vision, policy, and oversight, and I agree with that. The nature of service is that the vision we're stewards of is not only our own vision, but also the vision of the 68,000. It's important that no matter what our own vision is, and my own cause so many years ago was neighborhood parking programs, once we step up to guide decisions that affect our 68,000 brothers and sisters, we pick up responsibility for their vision too, even when sometimes it isn't perfectly aligned with our own. And at this point, I'd like to thank my wife for not divorcing me all the times when my vote did not perfectly align with her vision. Any group that spends a lot of time in each other's company, as we all do here, risks a little bit of groupthink. It's so easy to assume that our own vision is the one that everybody else shares. I've fretted about this for 8 years. If the political elites in our country, which includes all of us here tonight at some level, drift away from the mainstream sentiments of much of America, then all of us are at risk. We inside this chamber must not drift away from those outside it. In here, we're all Spider-Man, and our great responsibility in service is how we unite. And for that commitment and your support and your participation in this effort, as a former elected and now just one of the 68,000, I am profoundly grateful. I want to say a word about finance. Society must be paid for, okay? And most of the important things cost money. Without funding, mostly what we have left is symbolism and goodwill. And not to malign a little symbolism, but symbolism plus proper funding goes a lot farther. The reason to manage our pennies carefully is so that we can spend them on the things that matter. Our unfunded pension liability is one of the biggest drags we have on saving those pennies today. And it's primarily a consequence of poor financial advice that we and so many other cities were given by the state. It took us 20 years to dig this hole, and it will probably take us 20 more to dig out. But if we stick to our plan, and I mean our plan and not the state's plan, because the state continues even now to give us and other cities questionable financial advice, then we will dig out. And that will free up tens of millions of dollars each year more. And I'm not underestimating, right? That's a lot of money. It'll free up tens of millions of dollars each year for future councils to fund society that we don't have today. As a community, we're in it for the long term. It's a worthy goal, but we must stick to plan. Thank you all for the honor of having served you in this chamber these past 8 years. Thank you to the 68,000 voters of Palo Alto for the privilege of allowing me to serve you these past 8 years. It's an honor I'll value to the rest of my days. Happy New Year, and God bless us all.
I'd like to bring it back to council. If any council members would like to make comments of appreciation, please switch on your light. Council Member Vinker.
So former council member Filson, I just want to thank you for your attention to the non-glamorous things. Karen Holman mentioned the green eye shade. And I just want to tell the quick story that when we were at the farmer's market and I was campaigning and you were campaigning for the measures, and I turned to you and I said, so council member, what do you know now that you wish you'd known when you were starting out? And I was expecting some real wisdom about the policies and procedures or how we got along with each other, or maybe something on, climate or housing. And he turned to me and he said, always budget and fund the normal cost. And for those of you who know what that means, that is what he just turned to us and asked us to take care of the finances and the pensions and the unfunded liabilities. And apparently this is how we do it. We always budget and fund the normal cost. So thank you, because someone needs to pay attention to that. And thank you for passing that on in your earnest years of service. It was a real service to our city.
Thank you. Next is Council Member Burt.
Well, given that we're running late, I'll try to keep this short, but I want to echo really the value that Councilmember Filseth has brought toward assuring us that we focus on our fiscal sustainability, because all the services that we provide as a community are dependent on our finances. And assuring that gives us a better path forward to be able to serve the community and provide the things that Palo Alto values so highly. So thank you.
Next, Council Member Tanaka.
Yeah, so former Councilmember Phil says, we disagreed on a lot of different things, but one thing we did agree on is the pension. So I really appreciate you making that a focus. It was a strong passion of mine as well. And so I greatly appreciate your work on that. And I also love your analysis. I think you probably rivaled me in the spreadsheet business area. So keep it up, send it to us. I would love to look at it. And thank you again for your service.
Vice Mayor Stone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Eric, I'm going to truly miss you and agree with what everybody said. Your wonkiness, your ability to analyze and just dig deep into the detail. One thing I always really appreciated too, you never felt the need to just talk. And anytime that your name was called and you spoke, I think everyone listened very carefully, because you were speaking because you had some real critical issue that you were analyzing and you wanted to bring up an argument. And there were several times where your arguments with your use of data convinced me. And I always remember your re-election kickoff event, and when you were mayor, your State of the City address. You were not afraid to throw up charts and graphs and go into it. And as a teacher who understands, sometimes when you see eyes starting to roll back at you, but you have to go through it. I just love that you were so unabashedly there with the data, and it was always just so convincing. And I think especially your State of the City address as mayor and your argument for the importance of the jobs housing imbalance was critical. And I noticed a real change in the narrative in this community after that, and your advocacy for that, and understanding the importance of correcting that balance. So I'm going to miss your ability to analyze the issues, but also just your personality. I always had a great time chatting with you when we had an opportunity and serving with you. It was a great privilege of mine, and I wish you all the luck.
I'd like to say a few words. Councilmember Filseth, I remember when you first ran in 2014, it was about the parking in the neighborhoods and how it obstructed the view for the bicyclists, for the youth and the students who were going home, going to school, and that really troubled you. But also very impressively, you were attending all of the select committee meetings with regards to airplane noise. It was actually very technical and very complex, but you stuck with it, and you taught us some things, one or two things of what you've learned. I will also miss your creation of all these Excel spreadsheets that are interactive. If you toggle a button, something else shows up. You add in a different number, something else shows up. And, the graphs, all of those spreadsheets and graphs are very valuable. Maybe it's a little bit nerdy or geeky, but it's very appreciated because I don't know how to do that. I also appreciated the colleagues memo that you put forward with regards to enabling us to actually put some funding towards affordable housing by examining our impact fees here at the city. So that is something that has been updated, and it's going to be helping us in moving that direction. I will also miss our trek up to the city to attend MTC meetings in order to speak at Plan Bay Area 2050 when they were doing the draft. So there's a lot of things I'm going to miss doing with both of you, Councilmember Filseth and Du Bois. We will miss you. Visit often. Thank you so much for your service. Okay. Now would like to hear a motion to adopt the resolution for Councilmember Filseth.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor,
I'm
I think we need to
sorry.
take public comment on this item.
Public comment, that's right, thank you. Now we open it up for public comment. We'll start with Alex Kobayashi, followed by Winter Dallenbach.
Good evening again, Alex Kobayashi on behalf of Senator Becker and Assemblymember Berman. Councilmember Filseth, we've spent a lot of evenings and weekends talking about various issues related to Palo Alto and whether it's safety issues or affordable housing. And I can't think of a better advocate for the residents of Palo Alto than you have been over the course of the past 8 years. I want to thank you for that. Our offices haven't always agreed with each other, but you have provided reasoned arguments and advocacy for constituents, and they're losing a great advocate in you tonight. So thank you for your service.
Next speaker is Winter Dallenbach, followed by Terry Holzmar.
I'm sorry I'm speaking so much tonight, but it's not my fault. It's like there's so much talent and service and everything to be acknowledged. Eric, just like everybody said, I mean, this facility you have with numbers and data and everything, it really, it wasn't just a service to the city. I mean, seriously, you got to me, you got me, you had me. I learned from you. I learned stuff that I didn't know, and I learned it and I got it and I learned it easily, and it has stayed with me. And for that, I really want to thank you. Those damn flip charts of yours, I understood it. And you didn't waste my time. And I hate to have my time wasted because my time's running out, I guess. And so I just love being able to understand things, and you made everything clear. And I'm going to really miss you for doing that. And so I want to thank you for that. And you focusing on how little tax is paid by businesses in our city compared to the huge amount that residents pay was really ticked me off, and a lot of other people. And that was one of the things that inspired the business tax. And thank you for that. And I watched you at times being called upon on the spot in city council meetings to, hey, Eric, could you do a quick calculation on that? And you would kind of like put your chin into your shirt collar as you did. And then in a couple minutes, you would have some sort of calculation done and have a number, and it would speed the meeting along and save time and be helpful to everybody. And of course, everybody likes saving time. And you're just really good. You have this uncommon ability, and it was really helpful on council. And I don't, you're just really appreciated. I'm going on and on. But there's one thing I'm really upset about, and I really think the city shortchanged you. And I don't know if Ed Shikata is responsible. Somebody blew it. They gave you a resolution in a frame with glass or what the heck ever, and it needed to be in a flip chart. And you needed a flip chart resolution, and something really went wrong. And I just want to apologize on behalf of all of us because it's wrong. But thank you for your service.
Thank you, Winter. Next up, Terry Holzmer. He might have spoken twice. He spoke at when he was speaking for Tom. Thank you. So that concludes our public comments, and we can move to a motion to adopt the resolution for Councilmember Phil Seth.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Stone and seconded by Councilmember Lowing.
Mayor Koo,
Yes.
Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
Councilmember Langcott-Hames,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowing,
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stone,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Now we move toward the resolution for former Mayor Burt and for his services last year as mayor. And who will be reading the resolution?
Vice Mayor Stone.
Oh, Vice Mayor Stone will be reading the resolution.
Whereas Pat Burt was first elected to the Palo Alto City Council in 2007, was reelected in 2012 and 2020, and served as mayor in 2010, 2016, and 2022. And whereas in 2022, Pat led a year of economic and social recovery from the pandemic, restoring city services and initiating a plan for revitalization of the city's downtowns. And whereas the City Council worked to restore its services and sustainable finances from the pandemic impacts in large part to the voter approval of Measure L and Measure K, the city's first business tax, which increases funding for affordable housing, provides a necessary local cost share for railroad grade separations, and funds restored public safety staffing. And Whereas the council advanced renter protections and multiple affordable housing projects, including the opening of the 59-unit Wilton Court project, obtaining state funding and approvals for the 88-unit transitional housing project, final approvals of the 110-unit teacher affordable housing project, approving the 50-unit county-led affordable housing project for adults with disabilities, advancing a 129-unit very low-income affordable housing project, and agreement on principle on 1.1 acres for affordable housing, along with 2 acres towards new parkland. And whereas the council approved and submitted to the state the city's housing element for over 6,000 housing units at all income levels over the next 8 years. And whereas the council approved major land use projects, including the North Ventura Coordinated Area Plan and the Castellea School reconstruction and expansion. And whereas the council oversaw major infrastructure projects, including the ongoing construction of the public safety building, expansion of the Charleston Road bike corridor projects, improvements to city parks, and approval of the rebuilding of the Palo Alto Regional Water Quality Control Plant. And whereas, as a member of the board member of the Santa Clara Valley Transit Authority, the VTA, Pat was instrumental in securing over $800 million in Measure B funds for the North County cities towards Caltrain grade separations, with over $400 million dedicated to the Palo Alto grade crossings. And whereas Pat served on the board of the San Francisco Creek Joint Power Authority, advancing the environmental analysis, design, and funding of flood control and sea level rise projects. And whereas Pat served on the board of the Bay Conservation and Development Commission, including the state's agency adoption of the Bay Adapt Plan in response to sea level rise. And whereas Pat led the council's Sustainability and Climate Action Plan, SCAP, initiatives to accelerate progress towards its 80 by 30 goal of an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, including the adoption of a first of its kind residential electrification program, passing a next REACH code for electrification of transportation and buildings, approving an extensive 3-year set of climate goals and key actions, adopting a goal of carbon neutrality by 2030, and the 250-person Climate Collaboration Summit in partnership with the Palo Alto Student Climate Coalition. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Council of the City of Palo Alto hereby commends Pat's outstanding public service and gratefully records both its appreciation and the appreciation of the citizens of this community for his meritorious service and commitment as a City of Palo Alto mayor.
Please, Mayor Bird.
Well, recognizing that I'm the last thing between you and the reception out in the lobby, I'll try and just be brief by saying that I think this last year, this council really had a great path of accomplishments, that we restored our directions that were disrupted by the COVID pandemic and restored city services, got ourselves back on a sounder financial footing going forward, and really accomplished a great deal in housing, climate change, and the whole array of subjects that we took on over this last year. So I want to thank my former colleagues and my current colleagues, and I look forward to the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to bring it back to council for comments of appreciation.
And encouraging you to be brief, like
Please
I'm not
be
necessarily.
We're standing in the way of refreshments, but I see a light. Council member, Vice Mayor Stone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I will be brief. I just want to thank Mayor Pat for his incredible service. I think our last meeting in December, you went through the accomplishments of this council, so many of these critical policies in a very difficult year. And I think from the perspective of everyone else in the community, you made it look easy. I know it's not easy. And so really appreciate you being your service, and so thankful you're continuing on to be a partner. And thank you for your ongoing mentorship and friendship. It's been very, I've appreciated it greatly.
Is there any more lights? Okay, I don't see any, so I'll move forward and speak really, really fast. I just want to say, Mayor Burt, it has been a pleasure working with you as Vice Mayor last year, and I thank you for your guidance. It has been invaluable working alongside you as Mayor. And during these last storms, I thought we actually complemented each other very well, with you surveying the creeks and the level of water, and also making sure that bystanders are safe, while I was out making sure we had supplies for sandbags so people can protect their homes. So there, we're doing things simultaneously. So I do want to say thank you, and I'll just keep it brief. And with that, we'll take it to members of the public. If anybody wants to speak, and here we go. First is Alex Kobayashi, followed by Winter Dallenbach. Oh, no.
I apologize, Madam Mayor, I had the wrong list. So the first is Ms. Dallenbach.
Okay, Winter Dallenbach.
I really want to say good job. We're glad you're going to be around. I don't need to take my mask off. I think of you as Councilmember Burt, Mayor Emeritus. And you are a living public benefit. And I'm glad we're going to see more of you. That's it. Well done.
Next speaker is Maura Ullman.
Thank you. I'll make this brief as well. Congratulations, Mayor Koo and Vice Mayor Stone. Thank you to the outgoing council members for their service, and a huge welcome to our new council members. I'm Maura Ullman. I'm here representing Youth Community Service. I serve as the executive director of the organization. And on behalf of our organization, I'm here to express our deep gratitude and appreciation to outgoing Mayor Pat Burt. You have consistently shown up for our youth to help guide them and engage them in a diverse number of issues, including climate change, the arts, civic engagement, and youth mental health and wellness, and so much more. We are thankful for your support of various community events, including the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service that's coming up next Monday, January 16th. So I hope many of you will come to that event as well, and the National Day of Service in September. Thank you personally for your guidance and mentorship, and a Happy New Year from all of us here at YCS. Thanks.
Is that Katie? Katie Roof?
Hi, thank you. We didn't realize there were public comments, so we're going to make this super quick, but we wanted to thank former Mayor Pat Burt for just everything he's done to help our student coalition be what it is today. These folks all have school tomorrow, so again, we'll keep this quick, but you've been just relentlessly supportive. You've helped mentor a lot of these individuals, not even always directly, but just through the actions that you've shown and demonstrated for how we can also be leaders in our municipality through different events and just through everything. So we wanted to say thank you. Yeah.
And with that, I'll take a motion to adopt the resolution. Mayor Pat Burt.
So moved.
So the motion is moved by Vice Mayor Stone and seconded by
Madam
Okay.
Mayor, can you please repeat the motion and seconder? I apologize. for
Yes,
that.
the seconder is Councilmember Vinker.
So- All right, Vice Mayor Stone,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Burt, Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowing,
Yes.
Councilmember Lythcott Hames,
Yes.
and Mayor Ku.
Yes,
Motion carries unanimously.
thank you. And this is a little bit unusual, but tonight, because of the storms, we are asking our city manager to provide an update on the city's response to the recent weather events. And with that, City Manager Shikata.
All right, thank you, Mayor Ku, members of the council. I suppose it's somewhat befitting the past few years to take a evening that was initially to deal with your reorganization, but also recognize the events of the day and of the past week or so. So with that, let me ask the city clerk for some assistance. Or actually, this is Megan Horrigan-Taylor providing some assistance in getting a few slides up. Let's see, really just wanted to provide a few highlights, recap the last several days, in particular, the city's response, and in particular, I'll use the city with a small c, because it wouldn't be accurate without recognizing the role of the community as a whole. And so much of my comments will focus on our organizational formal response, but want to acknowledge that at the outset, and I'll come back to expand on the community's role a bit later in my comments. Also do want to recognize that today we were quite fortunate to have not had a emergency level activation. And as such, again, we're very fortunate. As I'm sure you know, other areas, both regionally as well as statewide, have not been so fortunate. So if nothing else, a reminder of the shared fate that we have with other Californians, as well as the importance of our continuing to maintain a high level of readiness for the days and perhaps weeks ahead. Next slide, please. So first, just in terms of what occurred really beginning on New Year's Eve, and I'd like to start and maybe an ode to Councilmember Philseth here. It wouldn't be right without some graphs, but to acknowledge and really I think it's accurate to say that the New Year's Eve storm event caught us all by surprise. It was quite a startling awakening that I had on New Year's Eve day when called by our public works director to say that we have an issue that requires attention. It may be a surprise, hopefully not a surprise to community members, that the city does not have our own weather forecasters or anyone involved with hydrology. We depend on Valley Water as a primary resource for emergency notifications and operations related to water resources in the region, and Valley Water in turn depends on, in this case, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the National Weather Service, as often referred to. That morning, both our staff and Valley Water staff simultaneously flagged a dramatic escalation in the forecast of precipitation as well as creek flow anticipated in the San Francisco Creek. Overnight rain levels were roughly 3 times what had been forecast the day before on the 30th. So again, the reality on the 31st was roughly 3 times what had been forecast the day before by NOAA. And so as staff, in terms of the math here, that 3 times increase in intensity resulted in a 10 times, a order of magnitude, a 10x increase in the predicted or anticipated flow in the San Francisco Creek as a result. So our staff immediately activated our Emergency Operations Center, which is a level of activation that we continue through today. We have established, as we have always, actually for many years, coordination with the San Francisco Creek agencies, which include our multi-agency coordination group, including with support from the National Weather Service, Valley Water, the cities of Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, the counties in San Mateo and Santa Clara, as well as the Joint Powers Authority, specifically formed to address the issues along San Francisco Creek. We also monitored and responded to issues throughout Palo Alto, but notably the most significant issues related to flooding were related to San Francisco Creek. Next slide, please. Do want to provide a few visual examples of our organizational response to these storm events over the past several days. First, just starting with the obvious, that our emergency services departments were on the spot and addressing and responding to issues as they occurred, really starting with the right. Our police department, shown here, responding to tree down on Page Mill Road. The center here, our fire department responding to motorist rescue on El Camino Real at University Avenue. And on the right here, not often thought of as emergency responders, but certainly has demonstrated their mettle over the last several days, our tree crew in removing trees that had fallen here again on Page Mill Road to remove hazards and restore safety in our public space. Next slide, please. Also, again, perhaps not always recognized as emergency response, but definitely showed their performance here. Other parts of our public works crews, including our public works storm response, as Mayor Koo can attest to directly, the delivery of materials for nearly 100,000 sandbags, which is remarkable. We know that there were issues and concerns about availability. I can tell you that that was certainly not a Palo Alto specific issue. And in fact, we were working in cooperation both with our adjacent agencies, as well as I know regionally and really throughout the Northern California area with sandbag supplies being in short supply. So we did quite well with our ability to continue providing supplies there. We had staff working around the clock really to deal with issues of storm drain clearance. Here again in the center showed the El Camino Real flooding, and the after picture on the right after our city crews were needed to address inability for Caltrans to respond immediately, went through and removed the mud that was in the storm drain system in order to clear and open El Camino Real, as well as additional removals of materials that have been necessary in order to clear streets and properties throughout the city. Would note that, let's see, there were 50 tree-related emergency calls responded to over the last several days, 8 of which included power line impacts and removing of roughly 150 tons of wood and tree debris throughout the city. Next slide, please. Also note, and again, not immediately evident, but perhaps obviously when we think about it, that our open space preserves have also required emergency response. We show here staff with the Community Services Department following up in order to clear damage as well as to begin some of the restorations for trails, which were obviously impacted through the weather and landslides at Los Trancos Trail, as well as throughout our Foothills Nature Preserve. Next slide, please. Then again, perhaps obvious to everyone, the utilities department was extremely busy or has been extremely busy over the last several days. One power outage, actually now I just got a notice, all power has been restored to the 21 customers that were impacted by this tree in the center here, actually, a tree, yes, that hit actually took out a power pole, which was a very involved restoration by both the tree crew as well as our utility electrical crew. And on the right here, shown an Embarcadero, a tree that then landed on power lines. Many of these outages or these tree falls impacted thousands of customers, as you see here, 5,800 overall. And really thanks to the on-duty and quick work by our utilities staff in order to quickly effect switching of the availability of power to get restorations to minimize the number of impacted residents and businesses as quickly as possible, and then follow up with the long work, the hard work of removing trees and restoring cables. Next slide, please. Then want to note, and particular shout out both to our community services department as well as the library department, and here showing our planning and development services department, following up with information and assistance for the potential evacuations as we thought might be necessary overnight, and also in following up on reports of damage to homes. Here, statistics shown with 13 reports of damaged homes and building staff following up there in order to assess damages, as well as working with our local hotels to provide emergency accommodations where necessary. And shown here in the photo on the bottom right, our staff providing support at the Community Resource Center, which was opened overnight as needed, as might be needed for residents, including unhoused residents. Next slide, please. Then just a quick litany of city departments that have been involved in our response. Again, we know about our first responders, or we think of them often, but notable here that many departments throughout the city organization have been involved, including obviously my office in overall coordination and communication, public works we've spoken to, emergency services, as you know, is a very small staff, basically 2 people that help us both in our preparation as well as assist us in staying organized and focused as the emergency response proceeds, and then in the after action supporting our review and improvements in how we've handled our responses. Administrative services that was responsible for coordinating procurement, as well as is continuing to track our financial outlays and working with the hotels in order to keep track of the any potential down the road for either reimbursement or simply to ensure that we're expending the public's dollars effectively. Community services I mentioned with respect to our Community Resource Center, but also our open space safety needs, fire department in response, planning development services, police, and transportation in arranging alternative parking locations for residents that wanted to move their vehicles out of the potential flood areas. And again, finally, our utilities department front and center throughout much of our activities. Next slide, please. Then I mentioned the C was small c, but really all caps community, and the role that residents and community organizations, notably YCS, has had in mobilizing in order to provide support for residents that needed it, both in terms of sandbag assistance, and notably on this last bullet here, residents who stepped up with their own expertise to help us evaluate evaluate, in some ways critically evaluate forecasts for rainfall, for stream flow, and to assist in providing that information in digestible means for neighbors and being very proactive and working extremely well with us. And we sincerely appreciate that support throughout. Next slide, please. And then finally, just a note on communications that we had to quickly spin up our ability to communicate in a variety of manners on a variety of topics, both for preparation as well as you know, the potential for evacuation as again was quickly upon us. Just a few statistics here. We saw a 5x increase in our website visits with more than 170,000 visits over the last several days. Our Uplift Local newsletter that went out a few days ago resulted in nearly 22,000 reads, which is an open rate of more than 50%, which is really unheard of. And we see here, we've got these videos, which we've never seen us do before, but as a way of trying to have information very easily digestible to people in a variety of forms, which supplemented our both our email and electronic social blasts, as well as actually door-to-door flyers that were provided for homes in the most and central to the most vulnerable areas for flooding. And so these videos also, interestingly, generated to date about 17,000 views. So really informative for us in terms of what has been working in reaching community members and what community members seem to be responding to in terms of the way that they access information. Next slide, please. And then did want to comment, I know we've received a number of questions on what's changed since 1998 when the last major flooding happened in town. And while recognizing that we still have much work to do related to the Pope Chaucer Bridge and the Newell Road Bridge and other channel improvements through the heart of Palo Alto, it is important to note that the San Francisco Creek work, what's been referred to as Reach 1, in roughly 2018, provided channel improvements from the area of Highway 101 to the Bay, and that really improved the most vulnerable areas of the San Francisco Creek and really increased the capacity in that area, which, as some of you may recall, the rains of 2017, when we actually had an excavator at the West Bayshore Bridge to clear debris there, again, out of concern of the very limited capacity and how that would then back up into Palo Alto. So those improvements have significantly increased the downstream capacity as we continue to work with the Joint Powers Authority and our own projects further upstream. Also really notable, and again, this is kind of thing that only civil engineers will geek out about, but I think worth noting, the San Francisco Creek Pump Station, which is located adjacent to the creek, just downstream of 101 behind Yemen Automotive, has really effectively doubled the pumping capacity that's drawing our stormwater out of Palo Alto proper. And that increase in capacity really, we believe, did have a significant impact in reducing the extent of flooding when the creek did overtop over the last week and a half. And as such, it was really the city's storm drain system that reduced the impact of the creek itself overtopping into Palo Alto. And you see a number of components here that have been made over the last several years. Next slide, please. And then finally, just acknowledging the significant work ahead, in the near term, continuing to respond to the ongoing storm series. Then, as we look forward, the work needed to complete the work at the Newell Road Bridge, including securing all the funding needed for that bridge replacement. Same true for really working through issues for construction of the Pope Chaucer Bridge replacement, as well as the other elements of the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority projects. And then finally, related improvements, which are ongoing through our own stormwater capital improvement program through the city's measure. And just a couple last slides here. If we could proceed, reminder of ways for community members to get real-time updates and information from the city. And one more slide, please. Just a quick recap of some of the information that is available through the city and that we will continue to build out as we work through this season. With that, Mayor, I'm back to you.
Thank you, City Manager. I see a light here for Council Member Burt.
Yes, I just want to add one, what I think is a very important addition, which is that the project that City Manager Shikata referred to on the Reach One, which is the expansion of the capacity at West Bay Shore, 101, East Bay Shore, and downstream from there, significantly reduced this last week the flooding potential and actually results upstream of there. In 1998, that was the biggest choke point, and a massive lake formed there, a deep, massive lake. And the overflows from upstream went down into there and made that lake grow. That lake didn't exist this time because all of that choke point has gone away. We still badly need to do those Reach 2 elements to give us the full protection, but we have already received significant protection as a result of the downstream measures. And that's something that I don't think we've conveyed to the community well enough, but it really matters. But I want to thank the staff for all the hard work they did over the last week and a half.
Okay, we're going to go out for public comments. Madam Clerk. I'll start with Leland Francis, followed by Hamilton.
Oh, thank you, Trustee. Mayor Koo, Leland Francois, Council, members of the public. From the East Palo Alto region, South San Mateo County. I'm a volunteer, and this kind of became inherent in my lifelong story going back as a radio operator. Today is KI6AWN out of Mountain View. And in 1925, it was W6OT Oakland Radio Club. And I've observed that the University Avenue Bridge at San Francisco Creek was put together in 1925. So I'm asking you a question. If everything was financed downstream below 101, why hasn't the dredging taken place further upstream? And that in itself would have actually caused an abundance of flooding. Now, the facts is that if that overgrowth was removed, there wouldn't be any flooding at all, despite what happened downstream at 101. I'm not a civil engineer, but that's just kind of the practicality of things. And after 100 years, I would think that the Tri-Cities, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, and in this case, East Palo Alto would have already agreed on certain measures to take preventive measures along with the Joint Powers Authority to get rid of that overgrowth. And my question is basically, why hasn't that happened? And I'm saying that assertively, just by reason, South San Mateo County, East Palo Alto Emergency Services. I'm not sure what happened. I'm going to take a lot of this information back that the city manager just conveyed, take it back to the city of East Palo Alto tomorrow and South San Mateo County to see how we can better coordinate. But that's my biggest question is after 100 years, why hasn't it taken place? Thanks a lot. And KI6AWN, I have to say this, KI6AWN, Leland Clear.
Mr. Francois, would you leave your contact information with the clerk?
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm KI6LGG. Okay, next is Hamilton.
Thank you for the service of the 3 outgoing council members. Congratulations to the new mayor, vice mayor, newly electeds. And thank you to staff and council on all your efforts on the flood mitigation.
Is Hamilton speaking?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
I cannot hear you at this time.
How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Congratulations. Thank you to all 3 outgoing council members. Congratulations to the new mayor, vice mayor, and newly elected. And thank you to city staff and council on all your efforts on flood mitigation and storm response. The construction of the Newell Bridge was originally scheduled to begin in 2021. Please expedite the replacement of the Newell Bridge, which is a prerequisite for replacing the Pope Chaucer Bridge. Together, the replacement of the 2 bridges along with channel improvements can reduce the probability of flooding by 3-fold. Yesterday, I walked by 2 houses which are now uninhabitable because of the New Year's Eve flood. The 1998 flood damaged 1,700 properties, of which 400 houses became uninhabitable for 9 months to a year. Because the Newell Bridge and Chaucer Bridge both have concrete abutments that extend into the creek, they artificially reduce the natural flow of the creek and significantly increase the probability of flooding. The replacement bridges will restore the natural flow of the creek and significantly increase capacity. Climate change amplifies extreme weather, causing more severe droughts and floods. According to joint research by the City of San Francisco and Berkeley Lab, the research team found the effect of climate change on future storms will be significant, leading to more powerful storms unleashing substantially more water in the Bay Area. Next winter is El Nino, just like 1998, which is looking to be a pretty strong one, according to the former lead meteorologist of the National Weather Service. The benefits of replacing the Newell Bridge go far beyond flood control. This 113-year-old bridge was designated as functionally obsolete by Caltrans. It is a substandard narrow bridge with no traffic lights, no sidewalk, and no bike path. Many parents from East Palo Alto push their baby carriages and walk small children across the bridge on their way to Party Park. The new bridge will provide safe sidewalks for pedestrians, safe bike paths, and improved car safety. Because the consultant of the Newell Bridge replacement project has been moving slowly and at times been non-performant, I believe they need to be more closely and actively managed. The city should expedite the permitting, put construction project out for bid, and start construction this year. The city can fund any recent shortfall if they are unable to raise external funding. We did just pass Measure K with one of the goals to improve public safety. If we delay the project further to raise more funds, construction will just go up higher in the meantime. I encourage the City Council to make one of their priorities for 2023 climate adaptation and mitigation, with the Newell Project Bridge being one of its action items. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamilton. Next, Jennifer Landesman.
Yes, I'm very thankful to the city's response and the work around the clock to address emergency issues. I think I was one of the benefactors of the Reach One project because a neighbor relayed that my block was a river during the 1998 flood, but it was just like normal rain. this year. So I know it's an impressive amount of work. This being said, I would like to suggest improving periodic updates on the work to complete the new bridge. And to consider improvements across the board for updates on projects that the city is involved that affect property, health, and safety. In 2021, the city auditor built a detailed risk assessment grid. The building of the bridge is listed as risk ID number 15. And you can find that in the February 9th, 2021 auditor's report. So to be clear, an auditor's perspective is suitable for identifying future audit areas. But what I find missing is sort of a practice and policy to document and publish annual or quarterly executive status and explanatory reports that state a project's timeline, milestones, obstacles, or next steps. This can help affected neighbors stay informed because we're all kind of clueless as to know what the last thing, that was done or what, and to serve to support the city and current and future councils to move things forward on issues that are either man-made or natural hazards. So I guess it's sort of like a reporting request. I agree very much that it should be a city priority and to schedule a meeting early in the year about the building of the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Carrie Templeton.
Hello again. I'm Carrie Templeton. I sit on the Planning and Transportation Commission, but I'm here tonight in my own capacity and do not represent the commission in my comments. I really appreciated Mr. Shikata's presentation that include the photos of dangers and hazards on El Camino Real. And I wanted to point out that El Camino Real not only has had the flooding, but it's also been deteriorating with the heavy rains even faster. We know we have potholes up and down it. It's very dangerous. It's also dangerous to ride across, especially our bicyclists, our students who are riding across up to like 9 lanes when you have the 2 parking lanes, 3 lanes in each direction and a center lane. And I wanted to let you know that that part, El Camino Real, is going to be repaved in the near future by Caltrans, who owns the street. And when we discuss it at Planning Commission, we are told, well, that's not our street. But you should know as a council that Mountain View has a plan for how they're going to repave it and improve the safety, the bike safety, the pedestrian safety, the flooding safety, all of it. There's a plan. So I would love to encourage you, brand new council, brand new year, think about if we can come up with a plan. Can you direct our staff to work on a plan to improve the safety and when it's being repaid to implement that? Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll come back to council if there's any comments or questions. Councilmember Liscott-Haynes.
Thank you. City Manager Shikata, thank you so much for your presentation and for your tremendous work through this emergency. I know I speak on behalf of all of us for expressing our gratitude to the staff for how they stepped up to serve our city. I think the only good thing about an emergency is that it allows us to prepare for the next one a little bit more effectively. We're continually learning. And it strikes me that back in 1998, we didn't live online, whereas now, of course, we all do. And so it's amazing that the website hits were tremendous and that our email open rates were 5x or over 50%, I should say. And it also occurs to me that so many of our residents find community and support and really turn to their online communities in times of distress. Many of us were made aware that folks were asking questions on Palo Alto Online. They were asking questions on Nextdoor and across every social media channel imaginable. And we know the city doesn't have the staff to be present in those online forums. My comment here is simply for the sake of the future. This is where our residents are living and lurking and leaning on others for support, particularly when they're panicking. And so I certainly, speaking only for myself, would be delighted to hear that you need more funding for staff and communications who can specifically spend their time online, responding to the misinformation, responding to the panic, and the worry and the ways in which residents feed each other's worries when they don't have the information at hand. I would love to see us being able to respond where they are, in addition to pushing out so much amazing information as you and your team did through the website and through emails and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights. I do want to say thank you, Councilmember Shikata, for your report. And please convey our gratitude for all the work the city employees did in terms of making everybody safe. And with that, last formality is to invite members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. We'll start with Mr. Bob Moss and then Jonathan Ehrman. After Mr. Moss speaks, we will conclude. We will
First,
end
congratulations
public comments.
to Mayor Koo and Vice Mayor Stone, and welcome aboard to Councilmembers Vanacker, Lowing, and Lithgow Hames. I want to talk about term limits because unfortunately we had two very qualified council members termed out because of term limits. And I think it's a lousy idea. I think limiting, first of all, serving on the council is very different than working for a commercial organization or a nonprofit. You have different issues. You have different people contacting you about problems that they think they have or may have. Inevitably, every year, you're going to have some kind of a disaster that nobody ever planned for. We had one this year with the, I guess you call it sequestering people because of the disease taking over most of the world. So these things pop up and council members have to be able to work with the staff and have to learn who in the staff is a person to contact when an issue comes up and how do they respond to the staff when the staff comes to them with a recommendation. I can recall times in the past when staff recommendations were rejected more than they were accepted by the council. I also can recall times in the past where there was one council member who the staff would make the report and the council member would immediately say, recommend approving with the council what the staff recommends, no matter what it was they were recommending. So people operate differently. And it takes time for somebody to serve on the city council and understand the issues, the community, and how to work effectively. Limiting them to only 2 terms creates a problem. And I think it would be very useful to seriously consider extending your term limits or even eliminating them. We didn't always have term limits. They were approved by a vote of the public several decades ago. And the city worked for many, many years without term limits. You can do it again. Or you can expand the term limits to say 3 terms instead of only 2. But I think it ought to be reconsidered. I don't think it works with 2 term limits.
Thank you, Jonathan Ehrman, to be followed by Erwin Morton. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ehrman. Erwin Morton, next to speak.
Hello. Thank you to the current and outgoing council members, and congratulations to our new mayor and vice mayor. I am here tonight on behalf of Palo Alto PTA Council with an invitation. As many of you know, PTA Council has been working for several years in many arenas on the epidemic of teen vaping. 3 years ago, in conjunction with Palo Alto Medical Foundation, we held a leaders' breakfast to inform community leaders about what was then a little understood problem. Several of you were there, and we thank you for that. It is now time for a second leaders' breakfast to update everyone on the progress that's been made and the challenges that remain. Spoiler alert, the passage of Prop 31 is important, but unfortunately it is not the end of the story. Our event will be Thursday, January 26th from 8:30 to 11 in the morning at the Mitchell Park Community Center. We want to thank the City of Palo Alto and the County Board of Supervisors for supporting this event. I've sent an email to all of you, but wanted to invite you more personally as well. I hope many of you will be able to join us on the 26th. We will have some great speakers for you, including Gordon Sloss, who is the new chief of the Tobacco Control Branch of the California Department of Public Health, our former Senator Jerry Hill, who authored the bill the voters confirmed through Prop 31, our county supervisor, Joe Simidian, and experts from Santa Clara County, from Stanford, and from UCLA. You will also get to hear from several high school students who are, of course, the reason for this work. So watch for our next email with all the details. Finally, I would really be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to thank the council for your prior work on this issue, adopting in 2020 a strong ordinance to make vaping materials less readily accessible to our community's children. This will come back again this year for further strengthening to bring it into alignment with the newly revised county ordinance. Huge thanks to Supervisor Simidian for shepherding that county ordinance. Again, thank you, all of you, for your work on behalf of our community's children. Have a wonderful and productive year.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. And that concludes public comment. And also I'm going to adjourn the meeting. And I invite everyone for a brief reception in the community meeting room at the lobby. Thank you.